Chapter 1248. Lin Chun had collected all the attribute light balls that Xiao Zhoutian had dropped from the shattered universe fortune diagram. He had obtained a large amount of set essences. What kind of profound cultivation technique is that? His mental power is probably at the middle stage of the Saint realm. The mental power technique he used is at least at the orange grade. He used his mental power to burn away the unique characteristics of the second-grade Saint artifact, causing it to be unable to protect itself. Then, he used pure strength and a heaven-defying palm strike to shatter it. Under normal circumstances, shattering a second-grade Saint artifact is no different from killing a third heaven true Saint. If it wasn't for the universe fortune diagram, Xiao Zhoutian would have been smashed into pieces by now. On the 4 islands, the experienced and sharp-eyed rank 6 aristocratic families saw through the clues with a single glance. All the experts who had doubts about Lin Chen before this were dispelled at this moment. In the second round, Lin Chen wins. Old Shun announced. Lin Chen slowly walked out of the battle area. On the central island, no one dared to look at Lin Chen directly. Based on the battle between Lin Chen and Xiao Zhoutian, only the top 10 experts on the genius list had the qualifications to compete with him. This is the strength of a perfect second heaven true saint. I have twice the number of saint acupuncture points compared to ordinary experts. The Tai Sky concealing technique is truly a profound cultivation technique. Lin Chen was looking forward to his strength when he stepped into a higher realm. Normally, a perfect second heaven true saint would have 3 billion dragon energy points after activating 20 saint acupuncture points. A second heaven true saint would have 200 million dragon energy points, and a perfect second heaven true saint would have 3 billion dragon energy points. Lin Chun had twice the number of saint acupuncture points, and he had 6 billion dragon energy points. The strength of his shell was 6 billion dragon energy points, and the power of his holy chi was 6 billion dragon energy points. Lin Chen's current strength could suppress any perfect third heaven true saint. You're really a monster. Compared to when you were in the illusory heart charming dragon clan, you're so much stronger, a lady exclaimed, and Lin Chen turned around to look at her. The beautiful woman had bright red hair and carried a sword on her back. She was devastatingly beautiful and had a heroic bearing. Between her brows there was a coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away. However, when she saw Lin Chen, the coldness disappeared and was replaced by a strange expression. This woman was Jian Qingqing. You're pretty strong too. You've already opened 10 saint cavities. This kind of cultivation speed, I'm afraid that many geniuses can't even catch up to it. When Lin Chen laughed, Jian Qingqing rolled his eyes, which was a rare sight. Forget it. I was eliminated in the second round. Compared to you, I'm the one who can't even catch up to your shadow. You're in the perfect first heaven true saint realm, and you've already broken through to the perfect second heaven true saint realm. Do you know how many saints you've angered in the past few days? The two of them chatted and laughed. The mighty swordsmen of the sword domain on the 4 islands were all smiles. Although they were not the ones who had arranged it, they could not wait for the relationship between Jian Qingqing and Lin Chen to improve. All of a sudden, Lin Chen abruptly turned his head, a faintly discernible chill and a sense of crisis rising in his heart. The devil seal in his palm actually had a weak reaction. There are signs of devil chi in the realm tower? There are so many mighty figures of the human race here. Which devil would dare to sneak in? Among the geniuses on the Central Island's genius ranking, a pale-faced youth grinned evilly as he stared at Huang Xiaolong. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. He seemed to have seen this person once before. It was in the Sage King's tomb. Brother Lin Chen, Elder Shen has already fulfilled your request. At this time, Bai Ruoyan transmitted her voice to Lin Chen. He was overjoyed and temporarily withdrew all his guesses. Increasing my strength is more important. Who cares about his background or what he's planning? Lin Chen soared into the air and headed towards the 4 islands on the 3rd floor of the Realm Tower. Following that, Lin Chen met with some of the powerful saints on the 4 islands. He even met a few super saints from the 7th grade aristocratic families. Lin Chen could not see through the cultivation of these saints at all. A conservative estimate was that they were above the 6th heaven true saint realm. They were truly mighty figures who could prop up heaven and earth. Lin Chen used the excuse of meeting with them to steal their attribute. As Lin Chen's strength increased, some saints whose cultivation was lower than Lin Chen's could only steal a limited amount of attribute points. There were too many saints on the 3rd floor of the Realm Tower. Not all of them could use the stealing omen once. Without enough talent points, Lin Chen only chose powerful saints to activate the talent. Time passed. In less than 3 days, Lin Chen's attribute points skyrocketed. However, the bottleneck of the 21 holy points still did not meet the opportunity to break through. Lin Chen's opponent in the 3rd round was even weaker than Xiao Zhoutian. He surrendered as soon as he entered the battle. If he won 3 rounds in a row, he would really stand out and become a candidate for the genius ranking. He would obtain most of the rights and qualifications equivalent to those on the genius ranking and the right to challenge those on the genius ranking. In the palace on the East Island, Bai Ruoyan was personally guarding Lin Chen. Before cultivating, Lin Chen wanted to consume the technique essence to help Bai Ruoyan achieve the perfect cultivation method, but the system showed the result of failure. Bai Ruoyan's Divine Flame Heart Sutra required the sacrifice of various heavenly flames, holy flames, and condensing one's own divine flame. It was different from cultivating ordinary combat skills. It was definitely not a level that could be completed by consuming the technique essence. In the secret chamber, Lin Chen entered a state of cultivation. He sat cross-legged in the void, and the entire secret chamber shone brightly. The energy fluctuations were like the arrival of a mountain and sea prison. 9 balls of brilliance floated in the void. Clouds and rosy clouds were rising, and strange phenomena were appearing. It was like the eye of a hurricane, or endless darkness, or the shining aurora, or the growth of thousands of trees, or the coiling of a dragon in the sea of trees, or the birth of thunder and lightning. These were actually 9 low-grade odd crystals. 1 lightning attribute, 1 fire attribute, 1 wood attribute, 2 wind attributes, 2 darkness attributes, and 2 darkness attributes. Lin Chen had exchanged 7 low-grade odd crystals with the Dragon Clan's almighty being, as well as a thunder-type odd crystal cultivated from the Thunder Vine. In addition, when Bai Ruoyan found out that he wanted to refine an odd crystal, she gave him a low-grade fire-type odd crystal. Rumble! Lin Chen's 20 holy apertures erupted with a terrifying suction force, and the colorful aurora entered Lin Chen's body. If an ordinary sage were to see this scene, their jaws would probably drop. Lin Chen was actually refining 9 odd crystals at the same time? These were odd crystals of different attributes, and there was a risk of the holy aperture exploding in an instant. With the 9 odd crystals in his body, Lin Chen activated Great One Spacetime. 40 hexagonal stars seemed to move, and the Great One Holy Aperture and the Holy Aperture enveloped the 9 odd crystals. They began to merge into the Holy Aperture without any burden. 4 hours later, the system screen popped up. Host has refined 2 low-grade dark odd crystals and gained 160,000 points of advanced dark energy. Host has refined 2 low-grade light odd crystals and gained 150,000 points of advanced light energy. Rumble! Lin Chen's aura skyrocketed, and his strength increased by another level. With a thought, Lin Chen opened the system. Heaven Dao Attribute Pickup System version 7.0 Host. Lin Chen. Cultivation. 2nd level Sage Realm Perfection, 20 Holy Apertures. Advanced Essence. 516. 6 billion points limit power. 6 billion dragon power. Flesh Shell Awakening plus 100%. Advanced Health. 366. 5 billion points Advanced Spirit. 499 million points, Middle Saint Realm, Advanced Cultivation Soul Essence, 2. 99 million points, Advanced Rune Energy, 395 million points, Intermediate Heaven Dao, 295 million points, Intermediate Talent Points, 145 million points, Set Essence, 395 million points, Blank Attribute, 0 points, Strengthening Points, 1.02 billion points, Advanced Elemental Energy, 7 million points of Fire, 15 million points of Earth, 99 million points of Wood, 33 million points of Metal, 41 million points of Water, 35 million points of Lightning, 31 million points of Wind, 46 million points of Light, 52 million points of Dark. Set Column, Golden War God Set, Ultimate Right Vambrace, Ultimate Left Greave. Bloodline Status Column, plus 12 Purple Gold Pupils, plus 15 Sacred Flame Phoenix, Intermediate Stage 6, plus 15 Extreme Hell Water Dragon, Intermediate Stage 8, plus 150,000 Ancient Sky Dragon, Intermediate Stage 8, plus 13 Yin Yang Creation Dragon, Intermediate Stage 8, Ancient Taishi Dragon Bloodline, 35 points, Ancient Aeon Dragon, 70 points. Cultivation Method Status Column, Open. Life Awakening Column, Open. Active Talent Column, Open. Passive Talent Column. Dual Cultivation Acacia, Assault, Tear, Orange Rank, Super Chaos, Orange Rank, Extreme God Possession Fragment, 3 out of 4, Killing Skill Column, Open. Characteristic Rune Column, Open. Talent Combination Skill, Open. Chapter 1249. Lin Chen's enhancement points and set essence had skyrocketed. After stealing a wave of Saint Stage Powerhouse's attributes, Lin Chen's set essence had reached the highest level in history, 395 million points. System, I want to consume 3 million points of set essence to upgrade the right arm and left leg armor of the Ares set. 3 million points of set essence, ultimate right arm armor increased to 2%, ultimate left leg armor increased to 1.8%. Lin Chen's 2 trump cards had been greatly improved. Lin Chen was looking forward to it. When he first became a saint, he could make the Ares armor unleash tens of billions of dragon power. Now, his saint body's flesh shell and saint power cultivation were many times stronger than when he was in the sacred burial mountain. If he wore the Ares armor, it was unimaginable. This was a power that Lin Chen himself could not imagine. I have more enhancement points, and I'm in short supply now. System, I want to consume all my enhancement points to upgrade all my orange grade techniques equally. Automatic enhancement beginning. Enhancing Dance of the True Dragon, God's Tears, 8-part Celestial Voice of the Burning Dragon, 9-layer Burning Sky Palm. 1 billion enhancement points seemed to be a huge amount, but it paled in comparison to the orange grade technique. Suddenly, Lin Chen felt a sense of longing in his heart as he continued. System, enhance the 2 ancient dragon bloodlines. System notification. The ancient Aeon Dragon bloodline and the ancient Taishi Dragon bloodline did not meet the basic requirements for enhancement. Please enhance the bloodline integrity before attempting enhancement. The enhancement failed because the bloodline attributes were too little. Lin Chen wanted to see if he could enhance the bloodline quality with the enhancement function and awaken the 2 ancient dragon bloodlines. All enhancement points have been consumed. Automatic enhancement ended. Technique Status Column. Dance of the True Dragon plus 14, 8-part Celestial Voice of the Burning Dragon plus 13, 9-layer Burning Sky Palm plus 12, God's Tears plus 15. The enhancement result was somewhat out of Lin Chen's expectations. God's Tears was enhanced to plus 15. Its power increased again. The one that improved the most was the 8 divisions Celestial Voice of the Burning Dragon. This mental cultivation technique could surprise the enemy and inflict heavy injuries in an instant. In a prolonged battle, it could cause the opponent to fall into a state of mental combustion, which was extremely torturous and painful. Those with weaker mental states would even be shattered by Lin Chen's roar. I really have to thank those Sage Realm experts who have traveled thousands of miles to let me steal their attribute values for the increase in my strength this time. I'll have to participate in such banquets and other important events in the future. I'll make a lot of money every time I steal the attributes of the four interests. Lin Chen's heart was carefree, and he used secret telepathy. The next day, on the central island, Old Shun floated in the air and personally appeared. He spread out a list and read aloud. Currently, there are a total of 154 candidates for the Genius List. In addition, the top 20 who performed the best this time will automatically be promoted to the Genius List after 10 years to fill the current vacancy. The ranking battle will be held then. After you become a candidate, you can issue a challenge to anyone on the Monster Genius ranking. If you win, you will obtain the ranking of the other party. If you lose, your ranking will drop. That's it. If the candidate fails the challenge, you will not be punished. Now, I announce the names of the candidates. Old Shun announced more than 100 names. Among them, the names of Lin Chun and Han Yiji were in the top 20. Even if the two of them did nothing now, they would occupy a place on the Monster Genius List after 10 years. When they heard Old Shun announce the names, the sages on the four islands had different expressions. It was very interesting. Those reclusive old monsters who had specially come out of seclusion had a rare look of interest on their faces. Next was the main event. When the new generation surpassed the old, how many people could surpass the old? The candidates for the Monster Genius List battle. The geniuses on the Monster Genius List on the mountain peak looked indifferent and thought highly of themselves. It was as if they did not feel that they were inferior to these newbies at all. The only thing missing was the words, "Bring it on," written all over their faces. Crack! Two figures stepped in front of the mountains almost at the same time and floated in the air. It was Lin Chun and Han Yiji. Not only the two of them, but more than a dozen daring geniuses turned into streams of light and chose their opponents on the Monster Genius List. On the mountain peak, Lin Chun looked straight at Long Yijing and smiled. "Brother Yijing, didn't you have a lot of fun chasing me before? You have to pay for what you did, right?" Long Yijing smiled, and there was a hint of viciousness in his gentle and elegant appearance. "You're here to challenge me? Ha ha, I couldn't ask for more." Seeing Lin Chun and Long Yijing's stance, they immediately attracted the attention of many experts. Long Yijing, ranked 9,983 on the Monster Genius List? Interesting, this kid is the main event right from the start. I heard that this kid has some grudges with Long Yijing. Seems like it's true. Long Yijing recently refined a lightning-type odd crystal and comprehended a new realm in his mental cultivation method. His strength is improving by the day. I think it's worth watching. Lin Chen's strength is still unfathomable. Although it's extremely difficult to surpass ranks in the Saint Realm, for this kid, common sense doesn't exist at all. I can't wait for him to challenge some stronger monsters. A few Grand Elders and revered elders of the Grade 7 forces gathered on East Island and looked at Lin Chun and Long Yijing's mountain peak with great interest. However, in the next moment. Lin Chun smiled. He smiled like a child. "Challenge you? No, I'm very honest. I'm not only going to challenge you, but also that idiot over there. Yes, that idiot in white clothes with a sword on his back who was peeping in the direction of Immortal Flame Palace. I'm going to challenge you too." Lin Chun pointed at Xiao Jing, who was not far away, and his pure laughter stunned all the experts. Xiao Jing's mouth opened slightly. Not only that, but even some of the reclusive old monsters of the Four Islands suspected that they had heard wrongly. Challenging two peerless monsters? Moreover, Lin Chun was not a member of the Demon Genius List. He was just a backup challenging two members of the main team? This had never been done in the history of the backup competition. Xiao Jing threw his head back and laughed as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. He was so angry that he laughed. Lin Chen, who are you looking down on? Do you really think that my strength is only SOSO just because I was held back by Han Yiji back then? You still want to fight 1 against 2? You're courting death. Lin Chen ignored Xiao Jing and looked at old Shen, who was in the air. Old Senior Shen, it's not against the rules for me to fight 2 of you, right? Moreover, didn't the rules state that the main team can't reject a backup's challenge? I'm the most handsome person in the sacred boundary. It's reasonable for me to fight 2 of you, isn't it? Lin Chen smiled casually, causing everyone to fall over in laughter. In terms of the rules, it's not against the rules. Old Shen's expression was very serious as he said this with a straight face. However, Lin Chen, are you sure? Although there will be special elders who will follow the battle closely and provide immediate protection to the side that surrenders, swords and sabers have no eyes in a battle. It's not absolutely safe for you to be surrounded by 2 monsters. Chapter 1250. That's right. Facing 2 people on the Heavenly Geniuses list at the same level was an extremely terrifying thing. What kind of people were the top geniuses on the Heavenly Geniuses list? They were born at the 6th stage, had great luck, experienced countless hardships, had unparalleled talent, and had endless trump cards. They were the most special group of geniuses in the sacred boundary. Fighting 2 of them 1-on-1? It wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. In a few words, the uniqueness of the Heavenly Geniuses list was summarized. In the sacred boundary, there was no such thing as a 3rd Heaven Sage Realm complete Sage Realm. However, the Heavenly Geniuses list could. In the sacred boundary, any acupoint expansion realm cultivator couldn't exceed the 1st acupoint expansion realm. However, the Heavenly Geniuses list could. Every person on the Heavenly Geniuses list had heaven-defying strength and foundation. Moreover, Lin Chen wasn't at the same level as them. He was challenging 2 people who were at a higher level. Seeing old Shen's serious attitude, Lin Chen seemed to wake up from a dream and clapped his hands fiercely. Old Shen is right. I shouldn't be like this. I only ask for fairness, and King fairness when I do things. Hearing Lin Chen's words, Han Yiji's little face suddenly puffed up slightly. She thought of something happy and covered her mouth to stifle her laughter. Now I feel that it's very unfair for these 2 people to fight 1-on-1. Lin Chen said in a serious and righteous manner. Everyone. Wait, who did you learn this fairness from? You, Lin Chen, are fighting 2 people who are at a higher level than you? How is this unfair to the 2 of them? You're crazy. You. Lin Chen pointed in the direction of East Island. His battle intent soared as he pointed at young Master Qingxiu. Young Master Kidney Deficiency, come up too. I don't like to dawdle. 1 against 2 is too unfair. All 3 of you can come up together. A certain Lin's casual laughter caused the 4 islands to fall into an eerie silence. The silence was so eerie that one could hear a pin drop. Well, if I didn't hear wrong. 1 against 3 is what he meant by fairness? Okay, I want to know if I'm crazy or if Lin Chen is crazy. Senior, what's fairness? Why don't you ask him? Why are you asking me? This is the first time I've seen such fairness. 1 against 2 isn't enough? Motherf *Ker, he wants to fight 3 people? Crazy. He must be crazy. Many experts were dumbfounded. Fighting 2 of them was already ridiculous, but fighting 3 of them? The most frightening thing was that young Master Qingxiu had become famous earlier than Long Yijing. His strength far surpassed Long Yijing and Xiao Jing. He was on a completely different level from the 2 of them. According to the rules, young Master Qing Su was not allowed to participate in this challenge. The reason he was here was all because of Bai Ruoyan. The rules would not allow a current monstrous genius to challenge a veteran monstrous genius. West Island, inside the VIP Palace. Unless this Lin Chun brat is really crazy and has a death wish, or has some other strange moves, it's impossible for him to win this battle under normal circumstances. No matter how powerful the cultivation technique is, no matter how heaven-defying the moves are, it is impossible for it to be so ridiculously powerful. A giant from a 7th-rank clan said. A beautiful woman in a peach blossom dress from the 7th-rank clan, Crimson Shadow Temple, nodded in agreement. Although she still thought highly of Lin Chun, she still spoke seriously. Mo Qingshu from the Divine Flame Palace. This brat became famous and entered the monstrous genius ranking more than 2,000 years ago. Now, he has opened 31 Saint Meridians and is at the 4th heaven of the Saint Realm. I heard that this brat expanded his acupoints 18 times in his first attempt. Hiss. Hearing the two Almighty's words, many young Saint Realm geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air. 18 times, a current monstrous genius. Normally, those on the monstrous genius ranking would only expand their acupoints by 15 to 16 times in their first attempt. Two Almighty, if I remember correctly, the expanded acupoint realm's acupoints are based on the 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm's Saint Meridians, which is equivalent to one with 500 million dragon power points. Young Master Qingshu expanded his acupoints 18 times, which is equivalent to 9 billion dragon power points, right? A green-robed young master boldly asked the beautiful woman in a peach blossom dress. The beautiful woman nodded and said, "Yes, that's right. To put it bluntly, 30 Saint Meridians are equivalent to 8 billion dragon power points plus 9 billion dragon power points after each expansion. Even if Mo Qingshu doesn't use any techniques or battle techniques, his Saint Meridians will be equivalent to 14 to 17 billion dragon power points." The geniuses' mouths twitched. Too monstrous. They had cultivated from the 1st heaven of the Saint Realm to the 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm and opened 30 Saint Meridians, but the amount of Saint Chi they obtained was only equivalent to 8 billion dragon power points. However, when the monstrous genius ranking expanded their acupoints, the amount of Saint Chi they obtained from each Saint Meridians was more than the first 30 Saint Meridians. No wonder the monstrous genius ranking was full of treasures. The sacred boundary clearly forbade people on the monstrous genius ranking from killing or killing people on the monstrous genius ranking. They were indeed worthy of this title. Those who could become saints were all 1 in a billion geniuses in the mortal world. However, an ordinary saint could completely crush a 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm if they expanded their acupoints by 3 to 5 times, let alone 18 times. It was fine if the monstrous genius ranking didn't expand their acupoints, but once they expanded their acupoints, they would be unstoppable. It seemed like Mo Qingshu only had 1 more Saint Meridians. Even if Xiao Jing and the Dragon Right Crystal teamed up, they still wouldn't be a match for Mo Qingshu. The only possibility was that one of them had advanced to the 4th heaven of the Saint Realm, the expanded acupoint realm. Facing such a lineup, 1 against 3, this Lin Chun was either crazy or had a hidden trump card. There's only one possibility. Another rank 7 aristocratic family's expert spoke up, and he seemed to be deep in thought. It's this kid who brought out the strength he used to kill a 4th heaven true saint. That's the only possibility. Even if Lin Chun had 30 Saint Meridians, I don't believe that he can challenge the 3 of them, let alone 20 Saint Meridians. The beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress nodded, and a rare trace of excitement appeared in her eyes. On the central island, Mo Qingshu stepped into the air and flew over with a contemptuous sneer on his face. Lin Chun, you want to establish your dominance by fighting 1 against 3? You're living in a dream. He's handsome and has good luck. Who knows, maybe this handsome guy's dream will come true. Lin Chun smiled faintly. He wasn't afraid at all in the face of the 3 monstrous geniuses. Only old Shun looked deeply at Lin Chun, as though he wanted to see through all his secrets. Do the 3 of you accept the challenge? According to the rules, Lin Chun didn't break any rules. Old Shun looked at the three monstrous geniuses. The three of them thought that they were extraordinary, and their arrogance was exactly the same. Old Shin formed a seal with his hands, and holy light covered the 4 islands. He slapped the void with his 5 fingers, and 1,000 zhang long crack appeared in the void. The crack connected to a barren land, and the desert was filled with dust and sand. This is the great desert skyplane, and it's a battle space that I've collected. I'll personally oversee the battle this time. The rules of the battle are simple. If one party can no longer fight or surrenders, the battle will be stopped. All the old monsters were shocked. Old Shin planned to personally oversee the battle. Old Shin looked at the 4 of them. Xiao Jing from the God-slashing sect was the first to move. With a sword on his back, he flew into the air and turned into a peerless sword light that spanned 3,000 miles. With a flash, he plunged into the crack in the void. Long Yi Jing stepped on a thunderbolt that reached the sky and entered the crack. Mo Qingshu's white robe was majestic, and he looked proud and cold. His body turned into a beam of light and entered the void. Lin Chen leisurely strolled into the great desert sand sky realm step by step. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Hundreds of light screens appeared in the sky above the 4 islands. Everyone was looking forward to the battle, and the geniuses held their breaths. This battle was perhaps going to be a battle that would shake the world. Chapter 1251. Time returned to 3 days ago. The 5th floor of the Boundary Tower. A secret meeting was taking place in a special secret room where millions of spatial talismans were flickering. 100 people were gathered in the secret room. The leaders of the various Rank 6 forces in the Green region and the Rank 7 clans were gathered here. Every one of them had an aura strong enough to destroy the stars and overturn the universe with a snap of their fingers. They could rule over billions of lives with a single thought. They were all big shots. Originally, they only wanted to quietly observe the competition of their juniors. But today, there was an earth-shattering event that gathered all of them together. This matter involved a lot of things. Moreover, it had already alarmed the upper echelons of the Rank 6 sects and above within the Holy Region's 36 domains. Everyone is here. It seems like everyone is taking this seriously. A handsome man in a green robe supported his chin with his fingers crossed. This person was the first-generation sect master of a Rank 7 giant force, Ing Taotian. As a Rank 7 sect master, it was rare for Ing Taotian to come personally. However, at this moment, his expression was solemn. Ing Taotian said in a serious tone, "This time, we are going to discuss the matter of Jing Bang Bang." He spread out the jade slip in his palm and placed it on the table. Then, he said, "The Dragon Clan has finally produced a heaven-shaking talent." The experts looked at each other. Although they were speechless, the shock in their eyes had already explained everything. The Rank 3 and Rank 4 sects in the Sacred Boundary did not have the qualifications to know about this level of information immediately. However, as Rank 6 forces and Rank 7 giants, their intelligence network could be said to be heavenly. They could immediately receive news from the 36 domains and even the Great Wilderness. Not long ago, they received news that a new king of 10,000 dragons had appeared in the Great Wilderness Myriad Dragons League. If it was in the past, they would at most pay attention to the new king of 10,000 dragons. With the foundation of the human clan, 1 or 2 kings of 10,000 dragons would not be able to shake their foundation. However, this new king of 10,000 dragons was enough to make them extremely alert. According to our latest information, this young dragon's origin is unknown. It is suspected that he is a descendant of the declined immemorial dragon clan. Moreover, he is wearing a silver dragon mask. This is his portrait in human form. Ing Taotian pushed out an ink painting, and on it was an intricate drawing of a wild and domineering handsome face. It was strange, evil, and cold. Judging from the painting, this person was definitely an overlord who looked down on the world. All the experts were slightly stunned. This was exactly the same as the information they had received. Ing Tao Tian had even gotten his hands on the portrait. Ing Tao Tian continued, "Our sex people have already sent back news from the Azure Dragon clan. This dragon is participating in the Myriad Dragons Conference under the name of the Azure Dragon King. It is a dragon with multiple bloodlines and is a genuine dragon phoenix. It has the bloodlines of the Great Flame True Phoenix, the Azure Dragon, and the Winged Dragon." At this point, another middle-aged man with a green jade sword slowly spoke. "This dragon is full of variables. The only variable is that he can perfectly control multiple bloodline transformations. Currently, we know that his Azure Dragon and Winged Dragon bloodlines have been baptized by Draconic Chi and transformed into the descendant bloodlines of the ancient Skyraiser Dragon and Extreme Hellwater Divine Dragon." Another white-haired old man said in a trembling voice, "This is not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing is that he has derived new bloodlines. The Yin-Yang Creation Dragon bloodline, 3 dragons and 1 phoenix bloodline in one body. Furthermore, according to the battle information from the Myriad Dragons Conference, he does not have any battle burden. In other words, having 4 bloodlines is not his limit." A holy light flashed in the beautiful woman's eyes as she spoke with a solemn tone. "What if he derives more bloodlines in the future? Or perhaps after the primordial dragon clan focuses on nurturing him, he can continue to transform into an even higher bloodline talent. At that time, a true world-destroying dragon will be born. Although there is still that group of primordial dragon clan, and the possibility of this dragon's bloodline surpassing theirs is very small, it does not mean that there is none. Right now, there is only one turning point. That person from the demon-human race has appeared again and forcefully taken this dragon away from the Myriad Dragons Conference. However, he does not seem to have any intention of harming him." The moment the name of the demon-human race was mentioned, the atmosphere became extremely strange. Silence. Ing Tao Tian tapped the table with his fingertips and spoke again after a while. "No matter what, we cannot leave this matter alone. The most important task now is to find him before the Dragon Clan finds him. Even if the demon-human race is involved in this matter, we cannot stand by and do nothing. As long as we find the whereabouts of the King of 10,000 Dragons, we can make the decision." 3 days later, East Island. "Goddess, are you really not going to stop Lin Chen? Although his potential is strong, he is the direct disciple of the 17th elder under Qing Su. You should know his strength very well." In the palace, the dim light of the fire extinguished, and a hoarse voice transmitted to Bai Ruoyan. "Granny Yu, let's continue watching." Bai Ruoyan smiled faintly, looking extremely charming. He has never disappointed. In the battle plain, yellow sand was swirling and a sandstorm was raging. Many geniuses even stopped their challenges. No one wanted to miss this battle. Xiao Jing carried a 3-foot-long red sword without a scabbard. He was dressed in a snow-white robe, and his arms were crossed in front of his chest. Holy light shone in his 30 holy acupoints, and a roulette-like sword light was rotating behind him like a crescent moon. The dragon ritual crystal was activated, and he wore a feathered crown and a green robe. He looked gentle and elegant, but there was a hint of hidden murderous aura. Mo Qingshu's face was like jade, and his handsome and carefree aura was extraordinary. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and sneered like a cat playing with a mouse. Boom! Sand swirled in the sky, and the battle power skyrocketed at the same time. The 3 monsters did not intend to join forces and fought separately. "Lin Chen, take a good look at the gap between you and the monster list. Go back and cultivate for another 1,000 years before challenging me." Xiao Jing laughed arrogantly and drew his sword. Frost rose in the sky. 8 odd crystals shone brightly, and with a swing of the 3-foot-long green sword, the sword aura spanned 3,000 miles. The coldness suddenly dropped, and snow began to fall in the desert. Shao Jing's sword came from the west, and snow covered the world. The dragon ritual crystal's 5 fingers crossed, and the power of his 30 holy acupoints skyrocketed. Lightning flashed on his right arm, and thunder burst from his fingertip. He used the Thunder Shadow Killing Claw to crush Lin Chen. Everywhere it passed, the void exploded. Mo Qingshu did not even intend to make a move. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and waited to see how Lin Chen would be defeated. The 3 monsters were not afraid of Lin Chen's trump card from the Holy Burial Mountain range. They also had their own trump card. If they did not have a shocking foundation, how could they be called geniuses on the monster list? Lin Chen smiled evilly. I'm afraid you don't know who created the Black Horse Club. Today, the 3 of you can forget about walking out of here in one piece. Just as everyone was waiting to see if he would use the trump card from the Holy Burial Mountain range, rip, boom. The wind and clouds in the desert suddenly changed, and snowflake-like sword light flashed out. The bright moonlight slash, the burning sword light, and the feathered shadow of an arrow light appeared out of nowhere. It was as if they could crush mountains and rivers. Bang, bang, bang. The attack that destroyed Dragon Ritual Crystal and Shao Jing instantly. Everyone was stunned. Some of the geniuses' eyes trembled in fear. Whoosh, whoosh. Several white dragon shadow flashed and instantly attacked the 3 of them. Dragon Ritual Crystal pulled out the thunder sword at his waist and slashed diagonally across the sky. With a clang, it blocked the flying sword light. The spatial crystal wall cracked, and the straight sword light shot toward the 3 of them. The Tempest Thunder Shadow's arrow light pierced through. Boom! A huge grayish-white talisman exploded in the air. Chi! Another raging flames burning the heavens handprint slammed down from above. In an instant, the 3 monsters were caught in a terrifying attack, and the spectators felt their scalps go numb. Wasn't this a 1 versus 3 fight? Why did it seem like the 3 monsters were surrounded? Chapter 1252. The moment the slowing runes exploded, the 3 monstrous geniuses fell into a whirlpool of attacks. Shao Jing wielded his red sword and slashed through the layers of sword shadows, breaking through the slowing runes' restraints. His sword light was chilling like snow. Long Yi Jing's sword drew lightning from the 9 heavens. Every sword was like a thunder god descending to the world, sweeping up sand and creating a thunderstorm. It shattered the flaming sword rainbow. Even Mo Qingshu was forced to make a move. He pointed his finger, and beams of holy light flashed like stars, tearing apart the attacks. Both sides exchanged blows, and many mighty figures could vaguely see more figures. Bang! A destructive storm exploded, and both sides retreated to one side. Standing still, the 3 looked around, and their expressions changed slightly. The scene in front of them was extremely shocking. A total of 7 Lin Chen were either wielding swords, spears, bows, or hand seals, ready to launch a fierce attack at any time. The strength of these 7 Lin Chens were all equally strong. At most, they used different types of combat skills, but the essence was exactly the same. It was hard to tell the real from the fake. Interesting, this is what you have to be so arrogant? Mo Qingshu frowned, and his tone was frivolous, but his expression was no longer contemptuous. My ability? This is just the beginning. Young master with kidney deficiency from Divine Flame Palace, you see the mountain but not the sea. I will start with you and let everyone in Divine Flame Palace know who Bai Ruoyan is. Lin Chen was no longer as frivolous as before. His brows were filled with arrogance, intimidating everyone. After the battle at the 10,000 Dragons Conference, Lin Chen had killed countless enemies and had the aura of the king of 10,000 dragons. A frog at the bottom of a well, how can you be worthy of the sacred lady? Today I will destroy you. Mo Qingshu pulled out a crimson-red trident and stabbed repeatedly. The 12 odd crystals in his body shone like stars, and the crimson-red odd crystal in the middle shone like a sun. A few sharp-eyed experts were shocked. The Divine Flame Palace was truly generous. Mo Qingshu actually refined a mid-grade odd crystal. Then, Lin Chen and all his clones trembled. His original body and all his clones emitted the brilliance of 17 polar stars. The corners of the spectating experts' mouths twitched. 17 low-grade odd crystals. Are you still human? Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, darkness, all 9 elements. The number of odd crystals was almost catching up to the number of holy points he had. How did he refine so many odd crystals of different attributes without exploding his acupoints? Even geniuses on the monster list would only be able to control less than 10 odd crystals before reaching the expanse aperture realm. Extinguishing halberd, fire 1,000 blades. Mo Qingshu's attack was earth-shattering. The crimson trident pierced through the sky like flowing blades, tearing through space and stabbing toward Lin Chen, covering the entire sky. True dragon dance, reverse. Lin Chen's entire body erupted with pure strength. His hands danced with the dark phoenix spear, and the spear shadows transformed into dragons. Layers upon layers of dragons danced in the air, covering the heavens and covering the earth. In the blink of an eye, the entire world was covered. Clang, clang, clang. Every shadow of the spear was divided into 5, intertwining with the flaming blades of the trident. Sparks were flying everywhere, and the sky was dyed red by the explosion. Xiao Jing and Long Yijing did not stop. While Lin Chen and Mo Qingshu were fighting, the two of them used their body movement techniques and charged forward. Lin Chen's doppelgangers instantly took action. Heaven Dao Thunder! With a single thought, Lin Chen activated his only top-tier blue-rank sure-kill skill, Heavenly Thunder. Chi! Boom! Heaven Dao Thunder exploded in the sky. Tens of thousands of feet of purple lightning clouds exploded in the sky, erupting with earth-shattering power that enveloped the 3 monsters. Long Yijing's expression changed as she felt déjà vu. Boom! 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 Within their respective thunderclouds, 3 bolts of purple lightning that carried an intense aura of destruction swept over like pythons and struck towards the 3 monster incarnates out of thin air. The power of the purple lightning was enough to shake a 4th heaven true saint. Be careful, this is the kind of strange attack that he can't dodge. Long Yijing patted the lightning mirror on his waist. The mirror instantly expanded to 1,000 feet in size and revolved around Long Yijing like a windmill. With a whoosh, the lightning mirror blocked the Heaven Dao Thunder. 8 dragon shadows appeared in front of Xiao Jing's chest. Each of them was protected by 10,000 sword. The dragon shadow protected Xiao Jing and dissipated when the Heaven Dao Thunder struck. Only Mo Qingshu's palm tore the purple lightning apart. With the protection of the swords and the lightning mirror, Xiao Jing was protected. Lin Chen's top-tier blue-rank sure-kill skill was completely blocked. Moreover, the 2 monsters' movements were not affected at all. They charged towards Lin Chen freely and engaged in a fierce battle with his doppelganger. It was as if the 2 life-saving treasures on their bodies had a mind of their own to protect them. With Lin Chen's current strength, if his doppelganger went all out in a one-on-one battle, his doppelganger would still be inferior to his opponents. However, if it was 2 doppelganger against 1 monster, they would definitely be able to suppress them. It's the Divine Flame Palace's 8 treasures sword dragon case and great lightning protective mirror. Some experts exclaimed, "This is too scary." This kid forced them to use their life-saving treasures the moment he appeared. To be able to force the 2 monsters to use their life-saving treasures, in a way, Lin Chen had already won. This was because it was a 1-on-2 battle. The key is still Mo Qingshu. If we don't take him down, we will never have a chance to win this battle. Rumble! Lin Chen and his doppelganger rushed forward again. Lin Chen fought Mo Qingshu in a 2 versus 1 manner, attacking from both sides. The 3 of them fought fiercely. A saber, a spear, and a halberd. The halberd slashed, the spear flicked, the saber swung, and the halberd pierced. 3 afterimages appeared in the void, and the halberd and spear collided countless times. The heavenly Tao's shocking thunder was like a shadow, and it continuously struck out streaks of destructive lightning. Emo Qingshu had no choice but to use his wind god to deal with the bombardment of his surekill skills. He was slightly distracted in the battle. This scene was a little shocking. Lin Chen actually blocked Emo Qingshu's attacks head-on. Lin Chen, a second Heaven True Saint Realm peak stage genius, was fighting against a fourth Heaven True Saint Realm expert, Emo Qingshu. Were they actually evenly matched? A second Heaven True Saint fighting a fourth Heaven True Saint? This was a fourth Heaven True Saint on the Demon Genius list. At the very least, no one had ever heard of such a thing in the rank 6 aristocratic families. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this was the most terrifying battle in history. Lin Chen's various mysterious techniques and his orange-grade halberd technique made Emo Qingshu's expression even more serious. His previous attack was a low-grade orange-grade halberd technique, but it was perfectly blocked by this kid? Although there was a hint of pure strength, what kind of cultivation was Emo Qingshu? Emo Qingshu's cultivation couldn't be compared to his, and his spear technique was even stronger than his. Lin Chen's cultivation was very different from Emo Qingshu's, but Emo Qingshu had 6 billion dragon power points, 17 low-grade odd crystals, double the number of holy points, and a highly strengthened orange-grade technique. Even though he couldn't suppress Emo Qingshu with his doppelganger and instant light doppelganger, it wasn't a problem to block his attacks. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Chen and his doppelgangers turned into streams of light and fought with Emo Qingshu from the sky to the desert, and then from the bottom of the desert to the sky. Everywhere they went, the sky and earth were turned upside down, and the desert was disintegrated and collapsed. Xiao Jing and Long Yijing showed signs of being at a disadvantage for the first time under the attacks of Lin Chen's other 5 doppelganger. The geniuses' mouths trembled. It was really 1 against 3. Without a doubt, Lin Chen's strength had already surpassed the average genius on the Demon Genius list. However, after a few hundred rounds, Emo Qingshu seemed to have figured out Lin Chen's strength. He smiled coldly. Lin Chen, that's it. Chapter 1253. Emo Qingshu sneered. That's it? Lin Chen, when this cloud disappears, it'll be easy for me to suppress you. Lin Chen grinned. Is that so? Super Chaos. Snap. Lin Chen snapped his fingers, and the 3 monsters' Saint Acupoints started to tremble. Activated the Super Chaos talent that has been triggered 6 times. The enemy has entered a state of chaos. Duration, 60 seconds. What the hell? My Saint Acupoint closed on its own? Long Yijing and Xiao Jing were shocked at the same time. The doppelgangers' attacks surged. The Absolute Shadow Flying Dagger, Sky Fury Sword, Feather of Lucky Light, and Annihilation were used one after another. The 2 monsters were the first to fall into a disadvantage. Emo Qingshu stood still. As a 4th-level sage, he could stabilize the situation even if he entered a state of super chaos. You're only SOSO. Today, I'll show you the power of my Divine Flame Palace. Emo Qingshu shook his hands, and 2 fire dragons flew out from his palms. This palm was supported by all the power of the fire-type odd crystal and the extreme heat holy chi. Young Master Qingshu even used the blood sacrifice flame dragon. In the East Island Palace, a beautiful maid was secretly shocked. This was one of the strongest orange killer moves of the Divine Flame Palace. Dragon the fire dragon stirred up the wind and clouds. The dragon soared into the sky and crashed into the thunderclouds, breaking through the thunder. A dragon attacked Lin Chen. Dragon flames billowed and burned across the land. The yellow sand of the desert was ignited and burned. The entire great desert existential plain was instantly turned into scalding yellow sand, burning with flames. Edge of the True Dragon. Lin Chen waved the phoenix spear, and the metal-type holy chi was pushed to the extreme. The tip of the spear emitted a golden glow, and with a stab, the golden glow transformed into a dragon's teeth. It split into 5 and collided with Mo Qingshu. Chi. Bang. The blade pierced through the fire dragon, and the burning sand exploded into a flaming tornado. Lin Chen was forced to retreat a few hundred steps, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Fire could suppress metal, and his Dance of the True Dragon was completely restrained by his opponent. Rumble. Mo Qingshu still had the energy to spare. He stepped on the fire dragon and charged towards Lin Chen with an extraordinary aura. It was as if he wanted to capture and suppress Lin Chen directly. The corners of Lin Chen's bloody mouth curled up slightly. "You've been tricked, little brother. At this distance, I'll let you know what it means to spin around in circles." All of a sudden, Mo Qingshu felt a sense of danger. The avatar that was in the heavenly invisibility rune state suddenly drew his saber. Clang! The blade's momentum was about to split open the sky of the desert and slash open the space. Rip! In the midst of the extreme sonic boom, 5 madly rotating aurora saber radiance twisted towards Mo Qingshu. The saber radiance was like a long rainbow, dazzling and dazzling, as if the Milky Way was overturning, slashing towards Mo Qingshu. What a fast blade! Mo Qingshu had nowhere to retreat to. He stomped his feet and waved the fire dragon as if it was his arm. He turned around and spat out a dragon breath to block the 5 aurora blade chi. Bang bang bang! When Mo Qingshu's pupils trembled, the 5 aurora blade chi exploded within 100 miles of him. The power of the saber radiance skyrocketed and exploded into countless fragments of saber chi. Hundreds of thousands of fragments of saber chi were like broken jade. Like the eye of the storm, they instantly engulfed Mo Qingshu with the momentum of a storm. Bang! 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 The fragments of saber chi poured down like a flood. Like a space storm in the universe, it instantly twisted Mo Qingshu. The fragments of saber chi continued to attack Mo Qingshu's blood, sacrifice flaming dragon. What was more terrifying was that the fragments of saber chi were mixed with the sharpness of the dragon power and the impact of the fragments of spirit. It was impossible for Mo Qingshu to defend himself. He could defend himself against the destructive power of the saber chi and pure power, but he could not defend himself against the terrifying fragments of spirit saber chi. With an explosion, Mo Qingshu's blood sacrifice flaming dragon was smashed into pieces. This saber strike caused the expressions of countless veteran saber saints to change. It was too demonic. This strike directly attacked the holy body, spirit, and holy chi cultivation. Once the saber chi was shattered, it was impossible to defend against it. The power, timing, and use of the saber technique were almost perfect. Crack! The defense of holy chi was broken. Mo Qingshu was twisted by more than 10 fragments of saber chi from the dragon power. For the first time since the start of the battle, there were wounds on his arms and chest. God's Tears was already at +15. In addition to Lin Chen's spiritual power, physical strength, and holy power cultivation, there was a qualitative change in all aspects. This slash was practically Lin Chen's strongest AoE attack at the current stage. In terms of surprise attacks, it was also one of the best. Boom! Boom! The space rumbled. Mo Qingshu stepped on fire lotuses and traveled thousands of miles in an instant. He forcefully broke through the aftermath of God's Tear. All the geniuses were shocked. This was an orange-level body movement technique? The foundation of the Divine Flame Palace was indeed abnormal. Before the first wave subsided, another wave rose. A huge crack appeared in the sky, and a giant flaming palm covered the entire area. It was surrounded by 4 layers of fire seals, and it swept up scorching waves. It aimed at Lin Chen's head and slammed down furiously. All the fire elemental geniuses present felt ashamed of their inferiority. This strike could burn the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It was another secret technique of the Divine Flame Palace, the 9 layers burning sky palm. This was the 4 layers burning sky palm, and it was executed by Mo Qingshu with the power of 14 fire elemental odd crystals. If an ordinary mid-4th heaven true saint were to face this attack head-on, they would most likely die on the spot. Mo Qingshu was indeed a demonic genius. When he broke through the encirclement, he had already prepared a second secret technique. Slow rune. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Another round of slow runes fell from the sky. This time, Lin Chen directly used 300,000 points of rune energy to seal demons and suppress ghosts. The space within 1,000 miles froze, and the power of the giant flaming palm was reduced by a few degrees. "You're not the only one who knows how to do this." Lin Chen laughed loudly, and his battle intent soared. The power of the fire elemental odd crystals was activated, and the 5 layers burning sky palm ignited on his left hand. The destructive aura of burning the heavens and earth surged as he slammed his palm towards the sky. Rumble! Another section of the burning sky palm appeared. In terms of power, Mo Qingshu's holy power was 10 times more vigorous. Buzz! Lin Chen's 5 layers burning sky palm split into 5. If the quality wasn't enough, then he would use quantity to fight. Boom! Boom! A flaming tornado of tens of thousands of feet exploded in the desert and continued to spread. Lin Chen's burning sky palm was broken through. Lin Chen's 5 layers burning sky palm had a high level of attainment, and it was strengthened to +12 with the enhancement of instant light split shadows. However, the former had 11 fire elemental odd crystals. Mo Qingshu's giant flaming palm broke through the attack and continued to suppress Lin Chen. Heavenly voice of the burning dragon. A dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens, and 4 burning dragons coiled above Lin Chen's avatar. The burning dragons let out a dragon's roar, and the sound waves seemed to be substantial. It pierced through the giant flaming palm and actually shattered Mo Qingshu's burning sky palm. Boom! 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 The giant flaming palm shattered and exploded. Lin Chen and his avatar took turns to fight, and each of their highly strengthened orange-grade techniques was a tough fight. Huh! The dragon's roar entered his mind, and Mo Qingshu retreated with a pale face. A scalding, burning sensation came from within his spiritual sea. His spiritual sea was actually burning? This kid's techniques were getting weirder and weirder with each move. This incomparable battle caused the scalps of the spectators to tingle with numbness. The ultimate orange-grade techniques of the outside world that had been passed down for thousands of years were as easy to get in the hands of these few people. Every move was at the peak of perfection, and it was perversely strong. Chapter 1254. Extreme Lightning Devour. The brilliance of the 8 thunder-type odd crystals in the dragon ritual crystal sword, and the sword slashed out in all directions. Wherever the lightning passed, there was a sinister aura that absorbed the space, and the sword slashed down dozens of flying daggers and giant palms in the void. Snow in the world, mountains and rivers. The 10,000-foot phantom behind Xiao Jing pulled out his sword. The 8-treasure sword dragon case protected him from the killing move. He pulled out his sword, and sword aura swept out. Boom! Xiao Jing shattered the attacks of Lin Chen's 2 clones. Just as he was about to attack again, a burning dragon condensed from spiritual power appeared behind him and roared. Roar! The dragon's roar split into 5, and it was like a 5-layered sound wave storm. Xiao Jing and Long Yi Jing were forced to retreat. Their faces were pale, and their spirits were burning. Damn it, why can't I heal the intense burning sensation of my mind? Xiao Jing and Long Yi Jing looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. At this moment, the thunderclouds dissipated, and Lin Chen's top-notch blue stare killing move started to dissipate. The 2 of them used their life-saving trump cards to resist the killing move. They even blocked the attacks of 5 Lin Chens. The foundation of the monster genius ranking was completely revealed. However, they also paid a sufficient price. Their external, internal, and spiritual injuries were accumulating. More importantly, some of their injuries were actually incurable. They could only let their injuries worsen. The two of them didn't bother with the top-notch blue stare killing move and were about to destroy Lin Chen's 5 clones in one go. Boom! 10 blazing suns rose in the desert plain, emitting heat and destructive aura. Even the two monsters' expressions became serious, and they even revealed a hint of fear. Long Yi-Jing's expression was uncertain. She could no longer maintain her usual elegant demeanor and gritted her teeth in indignation. Lin Chen actually forced Mo Qingshu to this extent. This move's power is probably a peerless battle technique paired with a mental cultivation technique. The foundation of the Divine Flame Palace is indeed far superior to other sects. Even the arrogant Xiao Jing was the same. He was born in the Jew God sect and had stood out from the rest to become the peak of countless monstrous geniuses. He was listed on the Demon Genius list. However, at this moment, both he and Long Yijing felt defeated, because even if the two of them advanced to the acupoint expansion realm, unless they encountered a heaven-defying encounter that shocked the ancient times, their cultivation would at most be between Mo Qingshu's. If Lin Chen could force Mo Qingshu, who was at the expanded point stage, to use all his trump cards, then they wouldn't be any better. The only exception would be if he could open the second saint aperture of the expanded aperture realm. However, to open such a high number of saint apertures, one would need to accumulate even more saint aperture. It would not be that easy to open it. In other words, they could no longer suppress Lin Chen. At least in terms of combat strength, Lin Chen had truly surpassed them. Even if they reached the aperture-augmenting realm, they would not be able to change this result. This was a huge blow to the two prideful geniuses. Boom! Arrows flashed, and Lin Chen's clones attacked again. The two of them fought with all their might and directly faced the 5 clones of Lin Chen. On the other side, Mo Qingshu was inside the 10 suns. The sea of fire was like a long robe on his body, and his holy aura was overflowing. He was like a high and mighty sage looking down on all living beings. He had the majesty of dominating billions of living beings. When he looked at Lin Chen, he waved his fingertips. His acupoint expansion realm's holy points were as deep as the sea, but at this moment they seemed to have been completely drained. He injected all the fire element odd crystals into the 10 holy suns. Chi, chi, chi. The entire plain began to burn with endless flames. The desert was filled with raging flames, and the yellow sand melted rapidly. Tens of thousands of flames rose and died, and everything within 100,000 miles was burned into nothingness. Oh no, Lin Chen is going to lose. Where's old Shen? If he doesn't save him, our human race will lose a peerless genius. To be able to reach this stage, Lin Chen is already heaven-defying. There's no need to continue fighting. Yes, Lin Chen only lacks time and experience. He will definitely surpass Mo Qingshu in the future. The age gap between the two can't be compared at all. Inform a few healing-type sages to immediately save Lin Chen if something is wrong. Inside the Boundary Tower, many sages of the Boundary Tower moved. They were on high alert and had solemn gazes. In a battle between sages, unless it was a battle of life and death, they rarely used their full strength. Unlike the War Emperor, although sages had the ability to destroy heaven and earth, replenishing the depleted holy points required a lot of resources and time. However, Mo Qingshu's move was extremely powerful. It almost used up 80% of his holy power. Using all the energy from the odd crystals, his mental cultivation technique, orange grade technique, and his own bloodline, he used this move with his acupoint expansion realm cultivation. Ordinary true saints wouldn't be able to survive this attack unless they had a 4th Heaven True Saint Realm Foundation or had a special trump card that countered it. Not to mention the geniuses who passed the preliminaries, Even the perfected third heaven true saint realm monstrous geniuses, who were forced to be present, had a solemn expression. They knew that even if they advanced to the acupoint expansion realm, they might not be Mo Qingshu's match. The divine flame palace's foundation was too terrifying. Sacred lady, this, a hoarse voice transmitted. Bai Ruoyan, who was in the East Island Palace, was indifferent. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on the light screen. Everyone, including the Almighty from the 7th-rank aristocratic family, thought that Old Shen would make a move, but he stood there without moving. Old Shen's gaze was deep. His palm trembled slightly, and then there was no more movement. Mo Qingshu's face was slightly pale. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood into the 10 suns. With my blood, I offer the power of my ancestors' holy sun. 10 sun absolute flames, listen to my command. Mo Qingshu pushed in the air, and the 10 blazing suns slammed into Lin Chen. Rumble! The 10 suns spread out in a fan shape, sinking into the plane and burning billions of stars. Very powerful. Even Ji Xiaochuan from the 10,000 Dragons Conference might not be his match. Lin Chen's lips curled up slightly. The 9-colored starlight in his palm suddenly overflowed like a roulette. 17 low-grade odd crystals flashed like stars. Lin Chen's Great One Saint Point and main body Saint Point surged with endless 9-colored divine light. The 9-colored divine light flowed into his palm. Lin Chen poured all of his sacred power into the 9-colored starlight. He swung his palm. Host activated instant light split shadow, annihilation split creation talent. Consumed 100,000 talent points. Rumble! Light streaked across the sky like a 9-colored meteor falling from the sky. The 9-colored meteor split into 5 and shook the 10 holy suns. Chi! Boom! Boom! The 9-colored meteor collided with the holy suns and spun into a 9-colored light pillar that shot into the sky. Under the spinning 9-colored divine light, there was an energy fluctuation that could destroy the world. Every rotation of the light pillar was like refining the stars, absorbing and annihilating the energy of the holy suns. Boom! 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 The 10 holy suns exploded crazily. The residual energy was absorbed and swallowed by the 9-colored light pillar and annihilated into nothingness. The plane shook, and billions of tons of yellow sand were annihilated by the 2 destructive energies. The battle between the 2 monstrous geniuses was affected and was forced to stop. They kept retreating to the other side of the plane. If it wasn't for Old Shen opening the space plane himself, just this wave of attack was enough to destroy the battle plane prepared for the monstrous geniuses list into nothingness. This Lin Chen can actually use such an absolute art. The 2 monstrous geniuses were stunned and their hearts trembled. What was this kid's cultivation? He wasn't even at 3rd Heaven Sage Realm. If he advanced to 4th Heaven Sage Realm and expanded his acupoints, wouldn't he overturn the monstrous geniuses list? Everyone held their breaths and looked forward to the result of this battle. Only a few experts exclaimed in their hearts, "It's actually a draw." Chapter 1255. Ying Taotian, the beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress, and the other powerful beings from the rank 7 families all stood up. They didn't look at the light screen. Instead, they stared at a certain spot in the void, as if they had personally seen the battle in the great desert plain. "It's actually a draw?" Ying Taotian and the beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress exclaimed at the first moment. This result was beyond their expectations. That's right, Lin Chen's performance was beyond their expectations. They didn't expect Lin Chen to be able to take on the full force attack of this Expanse Realm monster with only 20 saint points. This was outrageous to the extreme. Taking on the strongest attack of an Expanse Realm expert who was 2 levels above him? This kid's trump card was so strong that it defied all common sense. The power of Lin Chen's 9 tribulation stars was dependent on Lin Chen's overall strength. After the battle at the 10,000 Dragons Conference, his elemental energy and odd crystals had skyrocketed, and his cultivation was far stronger than before. He had opened 20 sacred points, and with the double stacking of the Great One sacred point, the power of his 9 calamity stars skyrocketed. With the Greater One Saint point, Lin Chen could adjust the power of the 9 tribulation stars. If it was a normal 9 tribulation stars, Lin Chen could use the Greater One Saint point effect to use it 4 times in a short period of time. But not this time. This attack against Mo Qingshu's 9 tribulation stars was Lin Chen's full strength. He mobilized all the saint points in his body and the Greater One Saint point and poured the 9 tribulation stars, which could be used 4 times in a day, into this attack. It was his strongest attack at this stage. Bang! Bang! After 2 explosions, Lin Chen and Mo Qingshu both retreated. They suffered different degrees of backlash. Lin Chen had blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, while Mo Qingshu spat out an attribute light ball. His injuries were both severe and minor. Rumble! After the 10 saint suns were destroyed by the 9 tribulation star, they shot towards Lin Chen, filling the sky with their radiance. The temperature of each radiance was extremely high, and it could easily burn through a 3rd heaven true saint's holy energy. Old Shin, it's time to make a move, Ing Tao Tian shouted coldly. The 2 of them were currently doing their best to rest. The second wave of attack might directly threaten Lin Chen's life. However, Old Shin remained as still as a mountain. His aged eyes glowed with unprecedented brilliance as he stared at Lin Chen's back. Boom! The saber whistled as Lin Chen's doppelganger appeared beside the main body like a timely rain. Azure Bright Moon slashed out with a saber, and another god's tear slashed out 5 aurora saber slashes. The saber lights spun and flashed. When it exploded in the void, it twisted and turned into fragments of saber chi that filled the sky. Bang! 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 The shards of blade chi and the afterglow of the holy sun continued to collide. It was as if 2 apocalyptic storms were colliding, madly canceling each other out. It took a while for the 9-colored light pillar and the Saint Sun energy storm to dissipate. Everyone could clearly see the figure in the void. Lin Chen's mouth was bleeding, but his domineering and arrogant smile had not dissipated. Mo Qingshu's body was covered in wounds. Although the holy light was still protecting his body, it was covered in wounds. What puzzled the spectating experts was why he did not use his holy power to heal his wounds. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures descended and surrounded Lin Chen and the last doppelganger. It was Xiao Jing and Long Yijing. Previously, when Lin Chen used the 9 tribulation star, he had used 5 doppelgangers to block the afterglow of the collision. His cultivation was not as high as Mo Qingshu's, and he could not block such a terrifying explosion of energy at such a close distance with his main body's strength alone. When the doppelgangers died, the battle power to stop the 2 monsters disappeared. It's a draw. No, most of his doppelgangers have disappeared. That unavoidable thunderous attack has also disappeared. He will be the next one to lose. Lose my ass. Lin Chen can fight with 3 monsters on the demon ranking by himself until now. I think he has won the most thoroughly. Think about it, how old is he? What cultivation does he have? If he expands his acupoints, he will probably be on the demon ranking. Yu Tiange wish that Lin Chen is the strongest. The geniuses and even the monsters on the demon ranking started to discuss fervently. Mo Qingshu was covered in blood. He endured the pain from his injuries and stood proudly in front of Lin Chen. His aura was still strong as he laughed sinisterly. How can you compare to the power of the Divine Flame Palace? Lin Chen, even if I am injured, it is easy for me to defeat you with 1 hand. Can you still use that attack again? Facing the encirclement of 3 monsters. Ha ha ha. At this moment Lin Chen laughed wildly. The geniuses were stunned. He could still laugh at this moment. Awesome. I didn't expect my main body's strength to reach this level. Although he had emptied his Saint Meridian, Lin Chun felt wonderful and carefree. Before entering the great wilderness, he had to use all his strength to deal with Long I Jing. Other than the Aries Vambrace, he had to use all his trump cards. In addition, he had to use his doppelgangers to delay a monster on the demon ranking. But now, ordinary Fourth Heaven True Saints were no match for him. Ordinary monsters who weren't in the expanded cavern realm couldn't withstand Lin Chen's attack. Even if the monsters below the expanded cavern realm joined forces, he could take on 3 of them at once. The difference between before and after had increased by at least 10 times. Rumble. Long I Jing and Xiao Jing attacked Lin Chen from behind with their swords. And, even if I use a huge amount of runes to create more doppelgangers, I might not be able to take them down. Forget it, I'll use my other trump card. Lin Chen smiled sinisterly and snapped his fingers. Rip. A wisp of azure dragon light streaked across the sky like a sword slashing down explosively, blasting away the 2 of them with a single slash. It even sent the 2 monster incarnates retreating tens of thousands of feet with a look of shock. What? What's that? Lin Chen, are you trying to trick us? A man appeared behind Lin Chen. His long hair draped over his shoulders. His eyes were like precious gems, and his face was like a pile of snow. His facial features were prominent, and his nose bridge was high. His brows were cold, and his hands were behind his back. The smile on his face was exactly the same as Lin Chen's. Everyone was stunned. This isn't Lin Chen's doppelganger. Why did you call for help? What was more terrifying was that the aura exuding from this person was pure and fierce. His gaze was like the roar of a holy dragon. Just by standing there, he was like an insurmountable mountain. Only Ying Taotian, the beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress, and the elders of the rank 6 sects were stunned when they saw the man's appearance and temperament. A chill that made their scalps numb rose from the bottom of their feet and rushed to the top of their heads. Sect Master? What are you doing? The beautiful girl in green sitting beside Ying Taotian couldn't help but ask in surprise. She had never seen the sect master reveal such an expression. Old Shin, he's obviously breaking the rules, right? When a monster on the monster rankings sent a voice transmission to Old Shin, some experts realized that a reclusive giant like Old Shin was actually shocked for the first time. He was even stunned on the spot. Half a breath later, Old Shin returned to normal. His gaze was like a sword as he stared at Lin Chen's back view. This young man had too many secrets, so many that he couldn't help but want to get to the bottom of it. It can't be wrong. This appearance, this temperament, this aura, this is the new king who shocked the ancient and dazzled the world. The king of 10,000 dragons, Ying Bang Bang. Waves of shock surged in Ying Taotian's heart. The king of 10,000 dragons, who appeared out of nowhere and defeated countless dragon prodigies, was actually beside Lin Chen? This information caused this ancient sect master to be dumbfounded. Chapter 1256. Old Shin regained his senses and calmed the situation down. He announced loudly and sent a voice transmission to the battlefield. Lin Chen didn't break the rules. This person, no, this dragon's life force is the same as Lin Chen's. It should be a part of his life force. Since it's his own strength, he didn't break the rules. When Old Shin sent the voice transmission to the 4 islands, the experts were in an uproar. This brat was still hiding such a trump card? However, there were many powerhouses who immediately felt relieved. That's right, they had heard about Lin Chen. He really did have a dragon with him. This holy dragon had even stayed by his side when he had become a martial saint. However, Lin Chen's performance and achievements in the sacred Burial Mountain range had been too dazzling. This tiny holy dragon had almost been completely overshadowed. However, they had never expected this dragon to improve by leaps and bounds. Judging from its aura, it seemed to be even stronger than the average Third Heaven True Saint Realm expert. However, The experts from the 6th and 7th rank sects were the most shocked. They had just received the latest news about the dragon a few days ago. How many days had it been? The king of 10,000 dragons, who had turned the 10,000 Dragons League upside down, had actually appeared in the human race's competition in such a manner? This was 2F** king ridiculous. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have believed it? This old man still doesn't dare to believe it. This is too fake. Could we have seen wrongly? Maybe this king of 10,000 dragons, Bang, has a twin brother. That's right. Bang is a dragon of unknown origin. We can't jump to conclusions rashly. Let's take a closer look. We can't be careless. Some experts suppressed the shock in their hearts and continued to observe. Great desert realm. When the three monstrous geniuses heard Old Shun's voice transmission, they couldn't help but be stunned. Was this a dragon that Lin Chun had reared? So what if it's a dragon? Can it turn the tide? This young master will destroy it with one palm. As Emo Qingshu sneered, the fire seal in his palm rotated rapidly. The saint power burned the sky, and the burning sky palm attacked Lin Chun again. The moment Lin Chun made Bang appear, the energy of the dragon veins was like a vast sea. Every dragon vein was like a river flowing in a river, moving a galaxy, and instantly erupted. The host has activated the instant light split shadows and annihilation split creation talents, consuming 320,000 talent points. The divine dragon struck out with his palm, and the high temperature of the entire grand desert existential plane instantly plummeted. Boom, boom, boom. 10,000 li of raging waves, the raging sea swept across. 5 hellish heavenly prisons constructed entirely from water-type energy enveloped the entire plane. Water strikes thousands of miles away, sweeping away thousands of mountains, and absorbing the stars into a vast ocean. A flood dragon leaped out of the sea and smashed into the shocking heaven-burning palm. What? The three geniuses lost their voices in shock. Bang clenched his fists, and thousands of blue dragon claws leaped out of the ocean surface, imprisoning the three of them. One. Xiao Jing's 8 treasures sword dragon case and Long Yi Jing's thunder mirror suddenly became more powerful. Holy light shone high, protecting their owners. However, the energy of the extreme prison heavenly prisons seemed to be limitless. Apart from the thousands of dragon claws, there were also water-type energy, sharp blades, spears, and even chains that shot out, imprisoning and stabbing the three of them. No matter how many trump cards the three of them had, no matter what kind of attack they launched, the energy of the dragon breath imprisoning them was like soft water. After being shattered, it would instantly reform again. Within the 5 extreme prison heavenly prisons, the energy was limitless, as if there was no end to it. The extreme prison heavenly prisons seemed to have become Lin Chun's home ground. Lin Chun didn't let go of this opportunity. He clenched his fists, and 2 of the 5 extreme prison heavenly prisons blocked all the attacks of the 3 geniuses. The 3 prisons kept shrinking and contracting, gradually shrinking. At first, the 3 geniuses' bones, flesh, and holy power were all compressed into a bloody mess. Rumble! The slowing rune fell from the sky. It focused on sealing the consciousness of the 3 geniuses, not giving them a chance to speak. Old Shin's eyes trembled. Tao Tian and the other grand cultivators also felt their scalps tingle. It couldn't be wrong. This bloodline divine power was exactly the same. It was exactly the same as the intelligence report. The king of 10,000 dragons, who shone at the 10,000 Dragons Conference, had also used this move to defeat the Dragon Crown Prince, who was comparable to the genius role. Crack, 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 crack. Emo Qingshu's bones cracked under the pressure, and a rare trace of fear appeared in his heart. This guy was serious. He was really going to kill them. He was indeed fearless. He was someone on the genius roll, and this Lin Chun didn't even give them a chance to surrender. He was really going to kill them. Lin Chen's holy dragon had defeated Yang En, and he only had 12 billion dragon power points. In terms of cultivation, he was much weaker than Mo Qingshu. However, his extreme hell heavenly prison was a transcendent divine power. It was a human mid-orange grade technique, and with the enhancement of his bloodline, it was more than 4 times stronger. It was also enhanced by instant light split shadows, which allowed him to split into 5 extreme hell heavenly prisons. Water countered fire, and he was completely suppressed. Even 2 Mo Qingshu couldn't escape, let alone 1. To put it bluntly, the 3 of them were doomed. The 3 geniuses defended and fought back with all their might, but their injuries were getting worse. The attribute light balls were also gushing out. Seeing the 3 geniuses' faces turning purple, everyone realized that something was wrong. Oh no! It's going to explode. Damn it, Lin Chen is crazy. Is he going to kill all 3 of them? Mo Qingshu and the rest are going to turn the tables. This guy is too ruthless. Is he really not afraid of the forces behind the 3 geniuses? I wasn't even 1% of him when I was young. Killing 3 geniuses on the genius roll? Is this guy going to break the sky? While everyone was panicking, rumble, bang. At that moment, the 5 heavenly prisons broke open. They turned into a storm and scattered across the entire existential plane. In the end, they turned the desert sky existential plane into an ocean existential plane. The one who attacked was naturally Old Shun. Little guy, the outcome is clear. You've won. Old Shun's voice echoed across the entire existential plane. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 geniuses turned into a stream of light and were teleported out of the battle existential plane. So they've attacked. Forget it. Under the current circumstances, it's not that easy to kill those on the genius roll. If they provoke me again in the future, I'll just kill them all. Lin Chen put away the fierceness between his brows and smiled harmlessly. Senior, you must be joking. Why would a handsome guy like me kill them? I just feel that these arrogant young people are asking for a beating, so I'll give them a chance. Who knows, maybe they'll be able to rise again and improve themselves. The old monster's mouths twitched. Did he just say that he was giving them a chance to beat them up? How shameless could he be? However, what happened next made the reclusive old monsters and mighty figures feel their scalps tingle. They were terrified to the core. After the battle with the 3 geniuses, all the doubts and disbelief were dispelled. The beautiful woman in the peach dress stared at the cold young man beside Lin Chen. Her lips trembled as she spoke. There's no mistake. This is the King of Dragons, Gil In Bang Bang. Chapter 1257. When? Old Fox. It's definitely the old fox's trick. Damn it, we were fooled by him. He already has the ability to defeat those on the monster genius list. Yes. If he had used this holy dragon right from the start, together with his doppelganger and the huge thundercloud, the 3 monstrous geniuses would have surrendered a long time ago. But he just had to trick them step by step, waiting for them to use all their trump cards and get injured before using the final killing move. It's too scary. Did you see that? The 3 monsters were squeezed by Lin Chen like little chicks, and they were almost crushed alive. Oh no, I'm scared. I need to find a pretty girl to comfort my scared little heart. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. You're too beautiful when squeezed, you're too beautiful when squeezed. The geniuses on the central island were in an uproar. The monsters on the monster genius list twitched their mouth. 1 against 3, and he actually won. This was probably the scariest challenge in the 36 regions. His opponents were on the monster genius list, and there were 3 of them. At least from the 6th and 7th grade forces, there had never been such a monster. This is too unbelievable. The old woman beside the white-robed man was moved. When Lin Chen received Mo Qingshu's 10-sun absolute flame, the old woman knew that the goddess's judgment was right. But she still underestimated Lin Chen. Not only did he win, but if old Shin did not help, the three of them would have died on the spot. He had to kill these three monstrous geniuses. Goddess, you already knew this result. The old woman bowed respectfully. Bai Ruoyan smiled sweetly. You overestimate me. No one in this world knows what he's going to do next. I just believed that these three people would not be his obstacles. The old woman was startled and bowed deeply. I was wrong. The goddess is wise. In the desert bit wall, Lin Chen took all the attribute light balls with sparks and lightning along the way. Obtained 200,000 strengthening points, 10,000 thunder energy, 10,000 water energy, 20,000 talent points, 9,000 spiritual power, 30,000 fire energy. Opened 3 5-light supreme treasure chests. Obtained second-grade sacred artifacts. Skyflame Sacred Hammer, Titanic Tower Heaven Opening Sword, Zimo Flying Ring. Lin Chen's stats soared unstoppably. With the last move, Extreme Prison Heavenly Prison, Mr. Lin squeezed out a large number of attribute light balls from the three monsters like a sponge. The three of them were heavily injured, so the quality of the attributes they dropped was extremely high. The days of picking up attributes were truly joyful. Isn't it good to just quietly be a handsome idiot and pick up attributes? Why do you have to go around causing trouble? After this reserve meeting, what's the point of fighting? I want to be a salted fish and pick up attributes in peace. Lin Chen sighed inwardly. The 21st Saint acupoint in his body loosened slightly, and the hexagonal brilliance flickered for a moment before dimming again. He had yet to completely break through this bottleneck. Lin Chen left the plain and returned to the central island. The desert plain had been completely reduced to a vast ocean. With the power of an individual, the weather of the entire space-time plane was reversed. The influence of the extraordinary divine ability was on full display. In the VIP palace of East Island, a green-robed man next to the beautiful woman in the peach dress carried a green sword on his back. His eyes were filled with the 3,000 sword aura storm, and his expression changed. Earlier, Senior Shin said that this dragon and Lin Chen are of the same lineage. They are part of Lin Chen. In other words, they are one. That's right. There's information about Lin Chen. He does have a saint dragon. When I heard that this kid used his eyes to refine pills, he also had a saint dragon assisting him in refining pills. The mighty figures looked at each other and saw the shock and astonishment in each other's eyes. Do you remember what Lin Chen said when he first arrived? He said that he went to the 10,000 Dragons Guild. An old man in a rough shirt stammered with a dry mouth. The hearts of the mighty figures of the 4 islands twitched. If that was the case, didn't that mean Jill Ing Bang Bang was Lin Chen, and Lin Chen was Ing Bang Bang? Lin Chen was the true king of 10,000 dragons. Amazing! He actually wasn't bragging? This Lin Chen was actually an honest child. Not only did he go to the 10,000 Dragons Guild, but he even took the king of 10,000 dragons. The 10,000 Dragons Guild, one of the supreme banquets below the primordial dragon clan, was actually a human who reached the peak of the new era of the primordial dragon clan and took the king of 10,000 dragons? Even in books, no one dared to brag like this. This was completely beyond their understanding. To dare to sneak into the 10,000 Dragons Guild and kill so many Dragon Clan prodigies and take the first place, how much courage and spirit did one have? It was definitely not something that could be done with brute force. For example, the 7th grade sect master, Ing Taotian, could break into the 10,000 Dragons Guild alone with his cultivation. Even if he could not defeat all the mighty figures of the Dragon Clan, he could still escape unscathed. However, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to sneak in. Not to mention that after sneaking in, he still had to participate in the 10,000 Dragons Guild and stand out from the other Dragon Clan prodigies while maintaining a disguise. This was almost impossible. For example, one day, a leader of the humankind, who had been the leader of the humankind since the beginning of time, created the path of cultivation, taught the saints, wrote the history of the humankind, and left a legacy of the humankind. However, one day, he suddenly told the whole world that he was not a human. How shocking would that be? Ing Tao Tian exclaimed in amazement, "Unexpected, unexpected! I don't even dare to think about this kind of thing. I'm afraid that the Dragon Clan is also completely in the dark. Lin Chen is the king of 10,000 dragons, and the king of 10,000 dragons is the god who descended to the mortal world, Lin Chen." The green shirt sword saint's eyes lit up, and his heart trembled as he said with a trembling voice, "Damn, maybe a heaven-shaking sage genius will appear in our human race. Think about it, what kind of potential does this little guy have now?" With just 20 saint points, he was able to defeat 3 people on the demon genius ranking, and even beat the saint dragon inside his body. Then, he defeated countless dragon princes, and even the king of 10,000 dragons with a 9th rank bloodline. How terrifying will his future be? The green shirt sword saint even used the word terrifying to describe Lin Chen. This group of big shots came from a rank 7 giant power. After countless eras, they had seen too many geniuses, monsters, and monsters. Even they themselves had nurtured peerless monsters that were on the demon genius ranking. Thus, when they saw Mo Qingshu's battle, they were slightly surprised. Other than being amazed at the power of the godly flame palace, they didn't have much of a reaction. That's right, this child is too different. With our experience, we've seen and experienced everything that should be experienced. However, this child is unique. His body exudes a special and powerful aura. This little guy cultivates spirit, physique, and saint force. Each area is extremely outstanding. Now, he can even perfectly control the bloodline abilities of the Dragon Clan. This is an unprecedented cultivator. Ha ha! The new king of 10,000 dragons is actually from our human race. I really don't know if those Dragon Clan fellows will be so angry that their heads will fall off when this secret is revealed. Don't be happy too early. After this, we will summon Lin Chen and ask him about it first. Ha ha! No matter what, this king of 10,000 dragons belongs to our human race. This old man's heart is really King happy. Why does it feel like I just ked someone else's wife? Just thinking about those smelly dragons who naturally look down on humans with expressions like they just ate shit, this old man really wants to take this brat to the great wilderness right now. Chapter 1258. Cut the crap. Let's make this clear first. This brat has been coveting our daughter for a long time. No matter what, we have to trick him into making a trip to this old man's family. Old Qing, it's not that I'm looking down on your granddaughter. No matter how beautiful your granddaughter is, can she be as beautiful as the goddess of the divine flame palace? Even if you want to sell your granddaughter, she might not necessarily want her. Bah! What are you talking about, you old fart? At most, I'll just put the pill away, close the room, take off my pants, and put out the small light. I don't believe that this brat won't take the bait. I say, do you have any morals? Look at how thin this child has become. He should come to our Peach Blossom Palace and take good care of him. Taoist Nun Peach Blossom, stop talking nonsense. If this brat goes to the Peach Blossom Palace, he will probably lose hundreds of millions. If you want to borrow the seed of a one-night stand, just say it. Why are you beating around the bush? If it were up to me, we might as well let this brat sneak in again and get a few dragon princesses back. We'll make a profit. At this moment, all the almighty figures were actually excited like children. They were either revealing their true feelings, talking about Lin Chen's future, discussing passionately with each other. What was rare was that none of them coveted Lin Chen's secret. With their age, cultivation, and status, they understood what luck and opportunity were. Lin Chen's strength and uniqueness were not external factors such as the sacred artifact on the surface, but something deeper. Every top-notch expert had their own secret. Even if they dug deep into these secrets, it would be difficult to obtain substantial benefits that were equivalent to the price they had to pay. They might even die because of this. For example, if an expert coveted the mental cultivation method of a young genius, after kidnapping the genius, he would force him to engrave the key points of the mental cultivation method. However, how could he ensure that the other party did not modify the key points of the cultivation method? Even if it was only a small point that was changed, if there was a mistake in the cultivation, a small flaw could endanger one's cultivation and even cause one's life. At the very least, even if he obtained the other party's mental cultivation method and secret, how could he ensure that he could definitely cultivate it? Could his bloodline and foundation inherit the other party's abilities and so on? Using Lin Chun as an example, would he be able to obtain the king of 10,000 dragons, Ing Bang Bang, by killing him? Questions like these were all unknowns, and most of them were unrealistic. There was no turning back for some things. Sacred artifacts could be snatched, and resources could be snatched, even if they already had an owner. Even luck and opportunities could be fought for. However, the premise of fighting for a fortuitous opportunity was that there was no owner. Once there was an owner, it would no longer be a fortuitous opportunity but the fate of others. Every single one of these powerful human beings was a saint who was worshipped and worshipped by millions of living beings in the mortal world. Even ordinary saints had to be worshipped by them. The mystic hidden pavilion and other rank 4 sects couldn't compare to them. He was not a narrow-minded person who would rob a young man of his secrets. What they needed to do was to nurture this seed and let it grow into a towering tree. In the end, it would grow to the point where it would affect them and even the world they lived in. Whether this influence was positive or negative, it all depended on the person. Seeing Lin Chun come out of the realm, the geniuses immediately retreated as if they had seen a demon. Old Shun descended from the void and looked at Lin Chun meaningfully. He had been paying attention to this kid for a long time, but his performance in the preliminaries had far exceeded Old Shun's expectations. Old Shun sighed in his heart and walked slowly toward Lin Chun. The geniuses were excited when they saw him. Old Shun had the demeanor of a deity. A snow-white sacred wheel was spinning between his eyebrows. His eyes were shining with an otherworldly calmness, stunning countless geniuses. This Old Shun was someone that even their grandmasters had to address as senior. When he was young, he was also a figure on the Demon Genius ranking. He was a genuine powerhouse throughout history. He was elusive. Even the geniuses on the Monster Genius list might not have the chance to see him, let alone the top 100 geniuses on the Monster Genius list. How could these young geniuses not be excited when they were able to see this living legend at such a close distance today? Even if they could only get a few words of advice from this old mister, it would be useful for the rest of their lives. Old Shin, whom the geniuses admired, walked to Lin Chen's side with a serious expression and patted him on the shoulder. "Kid, can you lend me your Jilling Bang Bang?" Lin Chen was shocked. F***ck, what does this old senior want to do? The geniuses' mouths twitched a few times. What the hell? Did they hear wrongly? Borrow what? Lin Chen said awkwardly, "Well, senior, you're making things difficult for me. I don't want to borrow it. It's not good. You can't let me replace you, right?" Old Shun immediately pulled a long face. "Why not? It's just 2 or 3 days. Your Jill will affect the balance of the situation between the human race and the dragon race. Don't you understand the seriousness of the problem?" The geniuses? Did they hear wrongly because they had too much earwax? What was going on? The geniuses were petrified from the chaos Lin Chen's thing could affect the balance of the situation between the human race and the dragon race. Was the world crazy or were they too young? Lin Chen looked serious. Senior, aren't you deliberately making things difficult for me? Old Shen said, this matter involves too many things. It's not up to you. After it's over, come to East Island by yourself. I'll also call all the people from the 7th grade forces here today. You must take out your Jill for everyone to see. Crazy. He must be crazy. The geniuses almost vomited blood. You want to see it by yourself? You want to call the powerful figures from the other 7th grade families to see it together? You want to team up with them? In the hearts of the geniuses, Old Shen's majestic image collapsed. More than 10 female geniuses blushed and covered their faces with their slender hands. Some pretended to be cold, but in fact they stole glances at Lin Chen from the corner of their eyes. Some were coquettishly staring at Lin Chen's long legs. Just as Lin Chen and Old Shen were in a stalemate, several heart-wrenching screams came from the central island. It hurts so much. My legs, why can't they be healed? I can't take it anymore, hurry, pull it out. The screams were so heart-wrenching that the geniuses on the central island shivered subconsciously. Everyone took a closer look and saw that the 3 freaks who were being carried out were lying outside the palace to be treated. The holy light was dense and full of vitality. The realm pagoda had sent out 7 expanse acupoint saints who cultivated auxiliary healing technique. With the boundary tower's resources, they could even let the 3 of them use the sacred elixir freely. It was because of this that the boundary tower had been chosen as the venue for the preliminaries. However, the 7 expanse cavern realm saints who had saved a dying 5th heaven true saint were sweating profusely at this moment. The beautiful woman, who was covered in a dense emerald glow, stood up and removed her hand from Long Yijing's chest. She turned to look at Old Shen, her eyes filled with disbelief. Old Shen, we can't heal the injuries of these 3 little guys. The moment she said that, all the geniuses and monsters felt their scalps tingle. Chapter 1259. On the mountain peak, the insufferably arrogant geniuses looked at Long Yijing, Xiao Jing, and Mo Qingshu in shock. Old Shen frowned when he heard this. Lin Chen, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. The corners of his mouth curled up. Old Shen stepped into the air and walked to the side of the 3. At this moment, Mo Qingshu's shoulders were fractured and there was a shocking wound on his chest. It was the size of a bull. Long Yijing didn't have a single piece of good skin from top to bottom. His flesh was badly mangled and his facial features were distorted. His limbs were bleeding profusely. Xiao Jing was in a tragic state. His right arm was twisted like a bent bamboo pole. His left leg was dripping with blood. His chest and back were lacerated and his bones were white. A saint physique wasn't like a war emperor's body. It was no small matter to heal a saint. At this moment, 7 Saint Expanse Meridian Realm healers were using divine pills and mental cultivation technique. However, they couldn't heal the 3 at all. Even the experts from the 6th rank sects and 7th rank giants were stunned by this scene. What was even more shocking was that it wasn't that the Saint Expanse Meridian Realm healers were useless. On the contrary, the 3's life force was replenished. The strange thing was that their wounds weren't healed. The life force and life force of the Saint physique were replenished, but the 3's wounds showed no signs of healing. The wounds were like a hole that couldn't be filled. No amount of energy could fill it. However, they couldn't stop. Once they stopped, all their life force would be drained from their wounds and they would die. The physical pain was one thing, but the mental trauma was even more serious. It was as if a ball of fire was violently burning their minds, tormenting them constantly. Elder Shun personally reached out his hand to feel their pulse. With just a thought, he sensed their condition and could not help but be shocked. The 3's wounds seemed to have their self-healing ability destroyed. The possibility of recovery has been cut off from the root. Old Shun's words caused a huge commotion. This is too scary. Is this poison? No, there's no poison like this in the world. If they were poisoned, the 7 seniors would be able to tell at a glance. Hundreds of monsters felt their scalps go numb. They had never seen such a terrifying move. It's Lin Chen's doing. All the prodigies and geniuses looked at Lin Chen in shock. The handsome guy didn't seem to care at all, and the smile on his face sent chills down their spines. Just how many tricks does this guy have up his sleeve? Young friend, what method did you use? Now that the outcome has been decided, why don't we spare them? The beautiful woman couldn't bear it and tried to discuss it with Lin Chen. Lin Chen smiled faintly. He was as calm as the clouds and as light as the wind, but he had the demeanor of an overlord. I'm a person who takes revenge when it's necessary, and repay kindness when it's necessary. I said that this battle would be unforgettable for them. In my eyes, all living things are equal. They won't be shaken just because they're on the demon genius roll. They're only alive because Elder Shern helped them. Lin Chen walked in front of the 3 of them and casually said, "If it was a normal battle, they would be dead by now." Everyone was moved. This kind of courage and spirit is really indifferent to life and death, fearless of heaven and earth. Elder Shern frowned. According to the rules, Lin Chen didn't violate any rules. But who would have thought that his methods would be so terrifying? Kill me, Lin Chen. If you have the guts, kill me and end it all. Long Yi-Jing roared hysterically. Lin Chen smiled and said, "With your current situation, it'll be over in about a month, provided that you can survive it. This situation will continue for another month? My God, wouldn't that be worse than death?" This caused many of the monsters to feel a sense of desolation. At the same time, their fear towards Lin Chen had reached an extreme. This young man looked harmless, but when he attacked, he was more ruthless than anyone. For the first time, these monsters were in awe of someone of the same age. In the past, they relied on their status on the demon genius roll to do whatever they wanted. There were very few people in the world who dared to kill them, but Lin Chen was different. He was a living lunatic. They didn't doubt that if Elder Shern hadn't helped them, the 3 of them would have died. Moreover, he had the means to make them wish they were dead. The 3 monsters' injuries couldn't be healed. It was the effect of the orange rank innate skill, extermination splitting wound. Mo Qingshu's situation was slightly better. His cultivation was higher, so it would probably be over in half a month. The other 2 were more miserable, starting at 30 days. In these 30 days, they had to receive high-intensity healing. Once they stopped, there was a risk of losing their lives. Even if their bodies could survive these 30 days, it was another matter whether their souls and minds could be completely preserved. Spare them? Only Mo Qingshu and Lin Chen would consider it. As for the other 2, Lin Chen never thought about them. When Lin Chen became a saint in the sacred burial mountain range, his defense was at its weakest. If it wasn't for the little demon empress, Lin Chen would have been dead. Long Yi-Jing brought people to ambush him. From coveting his secrets to wanting to kill him, Lin Chen would definitely kill her if he had the chance. These 2 people were mortal enemies. Take them away and inform the forces behind them. Before that, make sure they are alive. Old Shin waved his sleeves. When he looked at Lin Chen again, he didn't blame him. Instead, he was full of admiration. His actions were swift and decisive. He was very satisfied with Lin Chen. The 7 elders sighed and brought the 3 people into East Island. Then, the preliminaries continued. The challenges between the preliminaries and monsters continued. However, after Lin Chen's stunning battle, the other battles seemed boring no matter how exciting they were. Bang! At this moment, flowers fell from the sky. Thousands of glazed lights swept across the sky. The 4 islands reflected the glazed lights and covered the land. It was as if a miracle had descended. The colored glaze saint light rose above Lin Chen's head, and his name disappeared from the gold ranking of the genius board. The glazed crystal jade rankings in the hands of the reclusive old monsters shone brightly. A new name replaced God-ending sex Shao Jing. The brilliance on the list quickly spread out and interweaved into new names. A new monstrous genius had been born. Monster ranking number 9815, God descending, Lin Chun. Rumble. A glazed token, as if it possessed great magical powers, traveled through time and space and landed in Lin Chen's hand. The glazed brilliance in the sky continued to display the information of the Demon Genius list. The monster ranking is issued by the top 10 sections. All rules are not restricted by the sacred boundary. Reward for becoming a new monster: 5 inferior grade spiritual plant of providence seed. The privilege of being on the Freak Genius ranking. You can enter secret realms below the 7th rank of the Holy World on your own. You can ignore the gifts from the Holy Empires. The Freak Genius token will give you an annual allowance based on your ranking on the Freak Genius ranking. The yearly allowance for 9,815th place is 8,000 gold Saint Origin coins. Can enjoy the right to kill in the secular world. Sects below the 6th grade have no right to interfere with the actions of the people on the monster ranking. Can enjoy the right to lead 5th grade sections. Monster ranking has the right to interfere with any banquet held by sects below the 6th grade. Can enjoy the right to rent 6th grade sections. Sects below the 6th grade can rent the resources needed by the geniuses on the monster ranking without any conditions. Can enjoy. Marshal Lin's body shook. He was completely shocked. Chapter 1260. Lin Chun finally understood why the geniuses on the Demon Genius list looked down their noses at others. Why did all the geniuses crazily want to enter the Demon Genius list? Those privileges were beyond the limits of the heavens and stood above countless people. Just the 5 plant of providence seeds obtained from entering the Demon Genius list were enough to support half of a 5th grade sect's cultivation resources. This privilege was just like the Lord of the human race in the Saints' world. A genius with the Demon Genius token could decide the fate of a 3rd grade or 4th grade sect. As long as he was strong enough, he could directly destroy the sect. What was worse was that he could not fight back. If a genius on the Demon Genius list attacked a 5th grade sect, even if he could not defeat a 5th grade sect, the latter could not hurt a genius on the Demon Genius list. He could even destroy a city or a country with a flip of his hand and kill hundreds of millions of lives without any punishment. With the identity of the Demon Genius list, he could also rent and use the resources of various chambers of commerce. With just a word, he could empty the entire chamber of commerce and give priority to the geniuses on the Demon Genius list. The Demon Genius list was the most unique existence of the human race in the sacred boundary. Most importantly, with the identity of being on the Demon Genius list, Lin Chun no longer had to be afraid of bringing his wandering divine tree with him. Just the name of the Demon Genius list was enough for others to not dare to touch him. It's true that only the Demon Genius list can bully others. No one can bully those on the Demon Genius list. This is the first time I've experienced the feeling of using my identity to oppress others to death. Lin Chun held the Demon Genius token tightly and formed a special connection with it. There was a space of 1,000 feet inside the token, and there was a special space tunnel that would regularly send the annual rewards of the Demon Genius list. It was on a completely different level from the gold list, which only recorded one's identity and other information on the Demon Genius list. From today onwards, Lin Chun was a member of the Demon Genius list, and he truly held the Death Exemption Golden Medallion. On the surface, the human experts and even the 7th grade sects in the 36 regions could not touch him, and he did not have to worry about others coveting Lin Chen's secrets. Little guy, if you have any trouble in the future, you can come to the Realm Tower more often. If you have any questions, you can also come to me. The group of elders were very enthusiastic as they exchanged pleasantries with Lin Chun. This spirited young man was like a treasure wherever he went. Lin Chun declined. When he returned to East Island, a group of powerful figures surrounded him. All the experts walked over with smiles on their faces and surrounded Lin Shuai. Lin Shuai was so scared that he immediately hugged his chest and covered his crotch, trembling. What are you doing? I'm still a child. What are you trying to do? Don't think that I'm easy to bully just because I'm handsome. Hey Yami! The 5th level of the Realm Tower. In the secret chamber, more than 100 top-notch experts from Grade 6 and Grade 7 sects gathered. Bai Ruoyan sat beside Lin Chen with a calm expression. Although Bai Ruoyan did not believe that these top experts would dare to do anything to Lin Chen with her presence, she still chose to stay by his side. Little friend, let this old man ask you, is the king of 10,000 dragons Jill Ing Bang Bang really you? An old man with dragon horns on his head couldn't help but ask in excitement. All the cultivators looked at Lin Chen in unison. Even though they had pretty much guessed it, they still needed him to confirm it himself. Lin Chen sighed and pretended to be deep. Now that things have come to this, there's nothing to hide. That's right, I'm the one who defeated all the geniuses of the 10,000 Dragons League. Originally, I wanted to hide this secret forever. After all, I'm such a low-profile person. But why is it that my handsomeness always makes my low profile worthless? I really want to be an ordinary handsome guy, picking up attributes and flirting with girls. Why do you guys always find me? Lin Chen raised his head and sighed. Being handsome is really annoying. Many of the experts were speechless. You're low profile? If you're low profile, then no one in the entire sacred boundary is low profile. The beautiful woman in the peach blossom dress giggled. Her beautiful eyes were like pearls, flickering with autumn water. You really are a young monster. Little guy, can you show us your Jill again so we can take a look? Looking at the many experts' expectant gazes, Lin Chen was helpless. With a thought, a blue light flashed from his dantian. Lin Chen's holy dragon appeared in human form. The holy dragon's face was domineering and cold. A pair of purple and red wings fluttered like flames. Yin and yang dragon aura lingered around his body. His head was covered with a blue light and his body emitted a faint blue brilliance. This was an aura that Lin Chen deliberately released, so that all the experts could clearly sense the holy dragon's bloodline aura. Lin Chen had instead hidden the ancient Taishi dragon and ancient Ian dragon bloodlines the deepest. Although these two bloodlines were as faint as dust in the holy dragon's body, all the human sages present were extremely cautious. He really has 4 bloodlines? Too amazing. Little guy, do you want to come to my 10,000 swords pavilion? While all the experts were having a heated discussion about Lin Chen, the results of the 4th level's preliminaries were gradually revealed. The results of the battles were not out of many people's expectations. There were not many people who could really compete with the official members of the monster rankings. Among the limited challengers, only Han Yiji and the genius ranked 3rd on the genius rankings had won or narrowly defeated the official members of the monster rankings. The other geniuses had all been defeated. However, the experience of this challenge allowed the candidates who had challenged the monstrous geniuses to reap extraordinary rewards. In the future, it would be a valuable experience for them. Lin Chen had been annoyed by these experts for nearly a day and night. He had made all sorts of arrangements and teachings. Although their conditions were extremely tempting, Lin Chen could even learn orange-grade alchemy handprints if he nodded, let alone orange-grade cultivation technique. Of course, the price was to join their sections. Even if he was just a guest elder, he would still have to obey their orders. On the day of the announcement of the results, there was a sudden change. Boundary Tower, 2nd level. Today, Elder Huang, who was guarding the tower, was having a peaceful day as usual. Suddenly, a figure slowly appeared in the space passage on the 2nd level. Elder Huang was stunned. Why would a guest enter the Boundary Tower at this juncture? Hadn't the space passage been temporarily closed? This person's clothes were whiter than snow, his figure was 8 feet tall, and he stood upright and proud. He carried a sword on his back, His long hair was tied up with a silk scarf, and the outline of his face seemed to have been chiseled by a blade. As his light and agile hair fluttered, one could clearly see that within his golden pupils there seemed to be eternal starlight that was vast and mysterious. His white robe fluttered. White, green, blue, purple, orange, and 5-colored sword auras were rotating behind the young man. They left behind endless brilliance in the space that they passed through. It was as if the stars were twinkling, forming a dreamy galaxy. Elder Huang was slightly dazed. He had never seen such a young genius before. Every move he made and every step he took could trigger the great Tao. He was like a god descending to the mortal world, a sword immortal reborn. This young man was too extraordinary. Even if he did nothing, as long as he appeared, all the light in the world would converge on him. He would become the most dazzling star in the universe. Dear guest, when Elder Huang spoke in a respectful tone, the young man in white glanced at him. Sword aura flashed in his golden eyes. Pucci! 2 strands of sword aura pierced through Elder Huang's saint body, causing blood to spurt out. What? Elder Huang's saint meridians were completely drained, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. He clutched his chest and fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He, a 3rd heaven true saint, was defeated with just a look? The young man with golden eyes was like the wind. Every step he took, the stars moved. 1 man and 1 sword, he went straight to the higher levels of the boundary tower. This person was Lin Xingqian. 1 man and 1 sword, challenging the boundary tower alone. Chapter 1261. 4th Level, Central Island. The experts of the 4 islands had gathered. There were 134 geniuses who had passed the preliminaries and were on the Monster Genius list. Although they were not on the Monster Genius list yet, they already enjoyed most of the rights. The normal procedure was for the candidates on the Monster Genius list to reach the 12 assessment standards in the next 100 years and have a place on the Monster Genius list. They would be promoted to the main selection. Logically speaking, it was impossible for the candidates on the Monster Genius list to defeat the main selection. If the candidates were to defeat the main selection to select the new generation of geniuses, there would not be many places on the Monster Genius list. The gap between the current candidates on the Monster Genius list and the candidates was as wide as a chasm. Be it the cultivation resources or the level of contact, the growth rate was not on the same level at all. It was the first time the candidates could challenge the main selection because of the empty spots on the Monster Genius list. At this time, Old Shen was not around for the time being. Another beauty in green appeared. She was beautiful and charming, but the vicissitudes of life between her eyebrows revealed her age. She was not as young as her face. The beauty in green announced calmly. The geniuses who passed the preliminaries this time can come to the Boundary Tower to complete the 12 assessments within 100 years. The assessment content will be different from before. Please be prepared before you participate. The geniuses on the central island cheered. Some cried tears of joy, some shouted excitedly, some sighed, and some had mixed feelings. They had finally become candidates on the Monster Genius list. They were only 1 step away from the position they had always dreamed of. Many veteran Saint Stage experts on the 4 islands sighed and sighed. Once the candidates were announced, they would be the new generation's leading Saint Stage geniuses. The sacred boundary did not lack Saint Stage geniuses. Instead, it lacked geniuses with the qualifications to enter the Monster Genius list. This little guy has finally become a candidate for the Monster Genius list. Next, I can give him the treasure coordinates of the rank 6 secret realms that I found when I was young. It's not easy. The candidates for the Monster Genius list are getting harder and harder. He was lucky to be able to stand out this time. Some elders and reclusive old monsters on the 4 islands heaved a sigh of relief. Becoming a candidate for the Monster Genius list meant that the level of contact would be completely different from before. Just as the woman in green was about to give out the reward, boom! The entire fourth level of the boundary tower and the space on the 4 islands shook. What happened? The green-robed woman frowned and immediately asked. Elder Lin, this is bad. Someone has trespassed into the boundary tower. He has already injured dozens of our elders. Several of our elders are on the verge of death. Senior Lin, please send people to save them first. The Saint Realm experts did not care about private telepathy and directly transmitted their voices to the 4th floor using their saint power. The expressions of all the experts on the 4th floor were very interesting. Someone trespassed into the boundary tower? Who is so bold? Could it be a 7th-rank giant? Let's wait and see. Old Shun and the others have gone to a higher level. Let's see what Elder Xian Lin will do. The powerhouses of the 4 islands observed the situation quietly. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire space of the 4th level began to tremble. Whoosh! A golden crack appeared in the void, and a sword intent that could break through the 9 heavens rose into the realm tower. A white-robed young man with a 5-colored sword chi behind his back was walking in the air with a sword on his back. He looked extraordinary, arrogant, and cold as he walked to the center of the island. His golden eyes were extraordinarily noble. When he looked down at all the people below the central island, he seemed to be searching for something. This young man, something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Some reclusive old monsters with profound cultivation bases exclaimed at the same time. Too young. This young man's life force was much younger than the other geniuses on the Demon Genius ranking. The person who trespassed into the Realm Tower was such a young sword saint? The powerhouses of the 4 islands did not express their opinions. They observed the situation quietly. The younger generation's grudges would not be easily dealt with by the older generation's experts. If they were to act on their own accord, it would not be something that could be easily resolved by servants acting as hired thugs for their masters. Young man, why did you trespass into my realm tower and injure my elders? Do you know that this is the Sacred Boundaries Demon Genius ranking competition? The young woman in green walked in the air. Her eyes were deep as she stood 10,000 miles away from Lin Xingchen and scolded him coldly. Demon Genius ranking? What kind of trash dares to call themselves demon geniuses? Just a bunch of ants. Lin Xingchen was extremely disdainful as he sneered. His words angered all the geniuses on the Demon Genius ranking and shocked the powerhouses of the 4 islands, who in the Sacred Boundary did not know that the Demon Genius ranking was the most unique and top group of geniuses in the 36 domains. Who dared to call the Demon Genius ranking trash? This arrogance was simply out of this world. What arrogance! How many cups did this brother drink? How did he lose his brain? This young master boldly guesses that he might have been stimulated by the Demon Genius ranking when he was young and lost his mind. Many monstrous geniuses were disdainful, and there was even a red-haired youth who grinned evilly. He activated the power of the odd crystal and blasted out a hexagonal starlight palm print that covered heaven and earth. Heavenly flowers rained down and holy light shone high up. Swoosh! A snow-white sword aura slashed towards Lin Xingchen. Chi! A 1,000-foot millstone-like green tornado stirred up wind blades and blocked all of Lin Xingchen's escape routes. The 3 hot-tempered geniuses directly attacked. Lin Xingchen was extremely cold. His eyes flashed with a sharp aura as 2 rays of sword aura spiraled and swept across the sky. Bang bang bang! The attacks of the 3 geniuses easily penetrated and crushed into nothingness. What? All the geniuses and monsters were shocked. Lin Xingchen took a step forward, and the wind and clouds changed. The 5-colored sword aura that was like a sword wheel spun and filled the sky with starlight. In an instant, he became the ruler of the world. I'm here today to find that ant, Lin Chen. You trash don't even have the right to die in my hands. If you want to find trouble, come at me together. Lin Xingchen's words enraged all the geniuses. The other party's words were stepping on their heads. I want to see what kind of ugly melon you are today. How dare you spout such arrogant words? This young master will beat you until your face is blooming like a peach blossom. I haven't fought in a long time. I didn't expect to fight an idiot who doesn't know his place. More than half of the geniuses on the Demon Genius ranking were provoked and used their movement techniques to fly into the air. This scene was extremely mysterious and magnificent. Over 100 monstrous geniuses stood against Lin Xingchen. The beautiful lady in green hesitated. She could vaguely sense that this young man was not to be underestimated. Quick, inform Old Shin. This young man's aura is unfathomable. Don't attack without permission. I have never seen such a person on the Demon Genius ranking. I will protect these young fellows on the Demon Genius ranking. The beautiful lady in green transmitted her voice to the few elders who wanted to attack Lin Xingchen. At this moment, clang! Lin Xingchen suddenly unsheathed his sword. The moment the sword was unsheathed, the mountains, rivers, and clouds moved. The space on the fourth level of the world pagoda throbbed and darkened. It was as if all the light in the world was dimmed by this sword. This was a peerless sword. No one present could see its grade clearly. They could only see that the body of the sword was overflowing with colorful lights and veins that wrapped around Lin Xingchen's 5 fingers like veins. The blade and the tip of the sword were flowing with 5 colored clouds, shining brightly like a divine sword. I only need one sword to deal with all of you. Lin Xingchen was as cold as ice. He looked at the geniuses as if he was looking at dead people. Chapter 1262. There were many veteran experts in the Realm Tower, but they did not dare to make a move. The reason was simple. In the sacred boundary, the more powerful a genius was, the more terrifying their background would be. A prodigy like Lin Chen, who did not belong to any faction, was the only one in history to make it onto the Demon Genius list. This youth was not on the Demon Genius list, but his strength was so terrifying. This further proved that he had an extraordinary background. The Demon Genius list could determine the life and death of a 4th grade sect, and they could attack sects below 6th grade without any punishment. This was the privilege of the Demon Genius list. Similarly, it was the same for those of a higher grade. If this youth was on the Saint Talent list, then his background was not something the Realm Tower could afford to offend. The beautiful lady in green did not make a move immediately. The Demon Genius list was already enraged. If she forcefully made a move, there might be other prodigies who would dissuade her. By then, she would not be able to take care of both sides. She would have to stabilize the situation and protect people at the same time. What she needed to do was to protect the Demon Genius list. If any of them died, it would be the Realm Tower's fault. Lin Xingchen and the other 100 prodigies stood facing each other. It had always been the Demon Genius list bullying others. No one had ever bullied them. As Lin Xingchen sneered, the Demon Genius list made the first move. Myriad flame soul traversing spear. A prodigy wielded 2 spears and danced in the air, turning into a meteor shower. Every ray of light was like an ultimate spear technique, covering the entire sky. Supreme Mystic Dragon raising hand. Another prodigy struck out with his palm. 10 giant dragons appeared in his palm, sweeping through the mountains and rivers, overturning the heavens and earth. Metal Sword Dao, Wind Sword Dao. The demon-like sword saint drew his sword and swung it. Winds howled for tens of thousands of miles, and the violent winds turned into sharp blades. Green and yellow sword auras intertwined with each other as they slashed towards Lin Xingchen with greater ferocity. True sun-sky splitting arrow. A heaven-shattering arrow pierced through the void and shot straight toward Lin Xingchen's head. Rapid light splitting shadow. 1,000 Buddha demon subduing palm. Move after move of orange-grade cultivation techniques, supreme killing techniques, and divine might of the martial way were unleashed. All of them struck Lin Xingqian, and the scene was extremely spectacular. All of them were unleashed by those on the monstrous geniuses list, and it was a rare sight to behold. It had been 100,000 eras since over 100 monstrous geniuses had besieged a single person in the current 36 regions. Even though all of them only had 30 saint acupoints and had yet to expand their acupoints, the power of their attacks was not inferior to that of acupoint expansion saints. A bunch of trash. Take a good look at what a real cultivation method is. Lin Xingqian's shoulders trembled as his sword intent swept across thousands of miles, splitting the heavens apart. At this moment, time seemed to stop. Countless five-colored sword chi gushed out from his sword as he strode forward like a sword immortal. The sword steels vanished one after another and stood around him. Dozens of sword chi storms were like tornadoes that reached into the sky. Thousands of sword saint phantoms were performing the supreme sword skills around him. It was as if he was the master of the sword arts and the clouds were supporting the moon. What? In East Island, a drunken old man suddenly opened his eyes and stared in Lin Xingqian's direction, his entire body trembling in fear. This is the phenomenon of 10,000 swords worshipping God, a realm that even I have not reached. In West Island, a green-robed old man with white eyebrows was shocked. 10,000 swords worshipping God, sword intent godlike. Since ancient times, only those who have gained the recognition of the sword god can reach this realm. In every era in the sacred boundary, there will only be one sword master with sword intent godlike. In South Island, another old man with an eagle-like face exclaimed in shock. In the current sacred boundary, there is only one sword master with sword intent godlike, Senior Fang Xiaotian, who is known as the Sword King of the land. This kid is actually the second sword master with sword intent godlike? At this moment, the reclusive sword saints hiding in the 4 islands were all shocked. Daybreak. Lin Xingqian struck with his sword. This strike made all the monstrous geniuses' vision turn black. It was as if the whole world had been severed by him. Only a speck of starlight continued to enlarge in their eyes. In the end, they could clearly see that the 5-colored sword chi surrounding the starlight was the tip of Lin Xingqian's sword. Bang! 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 All the attacks of the 100 monstrous geniuses instantly exploded. The central island on the 4th level of the realm pagoda shook as if it had suffered a heavy blow. It instantly shattered into countless pieces, and all the monstrous genius candidates were affected and suffered different degrees of injuries. At the critical moment, the beautiful woman in green stood in front of all the monstrous geniuses. She raised her slender hand and condensed blue ripples to block the 5-colored sword beam that pierced through space. Bang! Bang! When the blue light collided with the 5-colored sword chi, it finally blocked the sword beam. However, the beautiful woman in green was slightly pale, and she was pushed back dozens of miles by the residual force. The shattered emerald light shot into the bodies of all the geniuses and candidates, protecting their lifelines. The 5-colored sword chi's attack was shattered, and starlight was everywhere. When the residual force hit, the faint starlight penetrated all the monstrous geniuses, and they vomited blood and retreated. The tens of thousands of sages on the 4 islands were horrified. Something's wrong. Save him. Save the young master first. Don't attack that guy. Leave it to the realm pagoda. Save the young master and retreat immediately. Tell the sect master not to attack without permission. Save him and run. All the sects that had their own geniuses participating sent out their own experts to save him immediately. The most important thing was that the strongest group of mighty figures had all gone to the 5th level to see Lin Chen's Jill. Right now there was no one here who could suppress this kid single-handedly. Everyone's first thought was to save him. On the 5th level, while the mighty figures were still discussing Lin Chen's problem. Someone came to the realm pagoda to cause trouble? Something happened to that guy? What, he was injured? Wait a minute, something's wrong. Almost all the mighty figures received the news immediately through their own means. What's going on? Lin Chen was already tired of it. Seeing that these guys were not pestering him, he couldn't wait to find a reason to escape. Old Shen, who had always been sage-like, suddenly stood up, and killing intent flashed across his eyes. Someone actually came to the realm pagoda to cause trouble. Since I took over, such a thing has never happened. And it's a young man. Old Shen tore through the void and flashed. The other mighty figures also left the secret chamber, leaving only Lin Chen and Bai Ruoyan in an instant. Damn, everyone is so fast when it's time to leave. Lin Chen's mouth twitched slightly. Bai Ruoyan smiled sweetly. It's okay, we'll go too. Her slender hand tapped the void, and Bai Ruoyan held Lin Chen's hand and left together. On the 4th level of the realm pagoda, in the sky above the shattered central island, Lin Xingchen's white robe fluttered, and 5-colored sword aura lingered around him. He stood with his sword under his feet, like an invincible sword immortal standing between heaven and earth. No one dared to go against him. He didn't chase after the people on the demon genius list. Instead, he sheathed his sword. Lin Xingchen didn't look at the geniuses on the demon genius list who had been injured by him. He strolled in the void, and a sharp sword light flashed across his golden eyes. The eyes of those geniuses who hadn't joined the battle trembled in fear. They activated their movement techniques and hurriedly retreated. Their scalps tingled. 100 geniuses had been defeated by his sword. Who exactly was this person? 100 geniuses on the demon genius list couldn't even take one of his sword? One man and one sword. Who could stop him? Chapter 1263. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Streaks of light flashed, and the void was filled with a series of floating shadows. The injured geniuses on the monster ranking and the potential geniuses had all been rescued. Lin Xingchen walked slowly in the void, unconcerned. His golden eyes scanned the 4 islands. After a while, he frowned slightly. He's not here? Didn't you say that the kid is participating? Swoosh. He stepped on a sword gleam and came to the space above the beautiful woman in green. He put his hands behind his back and questioned her indifferently. Woman, where's Lin Chen? Didn't you say that he's participating in the meeting here? If you can't give me a satisfactory answer, I'll kill you first and then slaughter all those trash. He looked down at her condescendingly as if he was born this way. He's here for Lin Chen? What did this kid do to provoke such a person? The beautiful woman in green trembled. She knew that Lin Chen was a troublemaker, but she didn't expect him to provoke such a person. However, this time, it was the green-robed beauty who was in the wrong. Only this time, it wasn't Lin Chen who had provoked Lin Xingchen, but the latter who had provoked him. Or perhaps, the two of them had an unseen battle that would only end when one of them died. Why would Lin Chen provoke such a person? What's the background of this kid? A drop of crimson water dotted the void. Fairy Scarlet eavesdropped and heard everything clearly. She couldn't help but think more highly of Lin Chen. This guy is really a monster. I can't believe he fought his way here. In the South Island, a pale-faced young man laughed strangely, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. In order to calm Lin Xingchen down, the beautiful woman in green frowned. If you want Lin Chen, he'll follow the Tower Master. Before she could finish, the young man's laughter rang in Lin Xingchen's ears. I'm here. In the East Island, a group of figures floated in the air. Lin Chen stood in front, and Bai Ruoyan followed closely beside him, holding Lin Chen tightly in her hand. Lin Chen stared straight at Lin Xingchen. Towards this person, he had a feeling that he was destined to meet his doom. Lin Chen did not believe in fate, but he could faintly feel that if he continued to grow, there would be a day when he would meet Lin Xingchen again. But he had not expected that day to come so soon. He was very curious. How did this guy fight his way here? Just to hunt him down? I'm afraid it's not that simple. Perhaps there was a deeper meaning and motive behind it. He is the one who trespassed into the Boundary Tower? Too young. This old man has never seen such a monster before. Could it be someone from that world? Just like the saints of the Four Islands, the rank 7 giants and elders didn't dare to recklessly make a move against Lin Xingchen. If it was a reclusive old man or a veteran powerhouse, they would not be afraid at all and would attack when necessary. But if it was a young monster, it might not be the case. If you beat up the small ones, you might end up provoking a group of monsters. The two elders shuttled through the void and came to Old Shun's side. The beautiful lady in green retreated to his side and whispered a few words into his ear. Old Shun frowned and understood the situation. Sir, you dare to openly kill people in the Boundary Tower. Tell me your name. No matter what your background is, you won't be able to escape unscathed. Old Shin waved his sleeves and asked indifferently. Lin Xingchen frowned. Among the people present, there weren't many who could attract his attention. This Old Shin was one of them. Not going to answer? Forget it. If I let you do as you wish, you will damage the reputation of the Boundary Tower. Today, I will capture you and let the power behind you come and take you away. Old Shin's sleeves shook. His hands, which did not have any saint energy fluctuations, were aimed at Lin Xingchen and clap. The entire space of the 4th level suddenly trembled and distorted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lin Xingchen's space seemed to be locked down, and a transparent cube appeared and sealed him. Old Shun's strength was unfathomable. Lin Chen couldn't help but be moved. He could vaguely sense that Old Shun's cultivation realm was not much different from the elders of the other grade, 7 sects and Ying Tao Tian. However, cultivation realm was cultivation realm, and strength was strength. These were two different things. For example, if an ordinary saint at the Great Circle of Cavern Expansion opened 40 saint points, his acupoints would be expanded by 25 to 50 times. If an ordinary saint point opened 40 saint points, his acupoints would be expanded by 150 times, 200 times, or even more. If they were both at the Great Circle of the 4th Heaven True Saint Realm, an ordinary Cavern Expansion Realm expert could defeat an ordinary Cavern Expansion Realm expert with a single finger. This was the difference in strength. Lin Xingchen's brows were tightly knitted together as he was imprisoned. Forget it. I can only kill this old thing when I'm at my peak. Because of that woman from the demonic tribe, my injuries have yet to fully recover. I can only rely on external strength for now. Lin Xingchen suddenly pulled out his sword and bit the tip of his tongue, spitting out a mouthful of blood onto the sword. Sword intent, which was like a 5-colored cloud, grew. 5 Emperor's Sword Qi, White Emperor's Sword. Lin Xingchen swiftly waved his sword, and the blade emitted a dazzling white sword light that split the sky. Clang! Rumble! Bang! Bang! The seal that Old Shun had personally set up had actually been broken. What was even more terrifying was that the countless white sword lights were like thousands of flying swords, slicing through the void and actually cutting the space on the 4th level of the world pagoda. Lin Chen and Bai Ruoyan, who were standing in front of many experts, didn't even have time to move before the white sword lights cut through the space. At this moment, even Old Shin and the other experts' expressions changed. Rumble! The space on the 4th level of the world pagoda collapsed and was split into pieces by this sword. This sword has an extremely strong space-time trajectory. It's not something that this kid can execute. Old Shun's expression changed slightly, and he immediately transmitted his voice to everyone. Everyone, please help me stabilize this level of space. After this, the World Pagoda will definitely reward you greatly. Otherwise, if the middle level of the World Pagoda collapses, It will be extremely troublesome. Tens of thousands of sages and various sects looked at each other. They couldn't care less about anything else. They activated their saint power and poured it into the broken space from all directions, stabilizing the fourth level that was about to collapse. However, Old Shun, Ing Tao Tian, and the others were more worried about Lin Chen and Bai Ruoyan. The space on the fourth level was now split into 5 parts, and each part was covered by a snow-white sword light. The 4 islands were the 4 parts, and the central island was the 5th part. Now, only Lin Chen, Bai Ruoyan, and Lin Xingchen were left on the central island. Oh no, the Divine Lady is trapped! The old woman from the Divine Flame Palace tried to tear the space on the central island, but she couldn't cross the area covered by the white sword light. Her expression changed slightly. While the other 7th-rank sect elders were attacking the seals on the 4 islands, Ing Tao Tian stepped out, his handsome face solemn. My friend from the Divine Flame Palace, Senior Shen, let's attack together. We can't hold back, or else the people inside will be in danger. Count me in as well. Lin Chen's death is also a loss to us. The beautiful woman in the peach dress walked over gracefully. Thank you for your trouble. Old Shin cupped his fist. It would take some time for him to break the white sword light alone. If the 4 strongest people here work together, they might be able to break the sword intense obstruction in the shortest time possible. However, the premise was that Lin Chen and Bai Ruoyan had to hold on until they broke the space seal. Otherwise, if anything happened to Bai Ruoyan, the Divine Flame Palace would also be shaken, and the Boundary Tower would have to take more responsibility. The 4 of them each stood on one side, and the saint acupoints in their bodies gathered endless saint power. They pushed out and bombarded the white sword light like a silver waterfall. Boom, boom, boom. The entire 4th level of the Boundary Tower shook violently. In the space on the central island, Lin Xingchen's mouth was bleeding. It seems that it's too early to use the 5 Emperor's sword chi. Moreover, I'm injured. However, it shouldn't be a problem to take down this person and take back the Scarlet Divine Damask. On the other side, Lin Chen and Bai Ruoyan looked at each other and smiled. Miraculously, they didn't feel any pressure at all. It was as if they weren't afraid of anything when they were together. Sister Ruoyan, how long has it been since we worked together? Lin Chen held the fairy's hand and chuckled. Bai Ruoyan smiled. The last time we worked together was when we were dealing with the fake god family. Then let's do something even crazier this time. As Lin Chen laughed heartily, a golden light flashed, and the battle god's armor appeared out of thin air. He put it on. Chapter 1264. This is bad. Although Lin Chen is amazing, he's still far from being able to fight that monster. What should we do? Elder Shern and the rest won't be able to break through this sword aura anytime soon. The elders of the various rank 6 sects were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. They had to break through the sword aura's shackles and protect their disciples at the same time. Suddenly, a dazzling golden light shot into the sky. It illuminated the entire 4th level of the Realm Tower. This is? Oh my god, is that Lin Chen? He still has a trump card. All the sages were shocked. Host is using the Ares right vambrace. The Ares set's increase in strength depends on the number of parts and the recovery rate. Buzz. Golden light illuminated the sky, and an invincible aura swept through the entire space. Lin Chen's entire body was emitting golden light. His silver robe billowed and his eyes were like gold. The intense golden light enshrouded his entire body. His flesh, blood, bones, and even a strand of hair had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. Lin Chen's pure strength surged all the way. It was unstoppable as it rushed into the sky and pierced through the 9 heavens. 20 billion dragon power points, 50 billion dragon power points, 100 billion dragon power points, 200 billion dragon power points, 500 billion dragon power points, 700 billion dragon power points, 900 billion dragon power points. Golden light shone as countless golden auras entered Lin Chen's vambrace. It was as if a deity had awakened, and its strength shook the 9 heavens. It was as if the god of war had come to life. It was still rising. Lin Chen's pure strength broke through the trillion dragon power points. 1100 billion dragon power points, 3 billion dragon power points. Rumble, rumble. The entire 4th level of the realm tower was rumbling and trembling as if it could not withstand this power. All the sages on the 4 islands were dumbfounded. Just a moment ago, they were still worried about how Lin Chen would hold on until Elder Shen came to save them. Now, it was not certain who would win. Lin Xingchen was finally moved. A year ago, they had met in a hurried battle. He clearly remembered the wrist guard worn by Lin Chen. Now, it had actually turned into a pair of vambraces? Although I've been injured for the past year, it's not like I haven't made any progress. I've grown from a puny battle emperor to a saint realm expert in just 1 year. If I don't kill you today, you'll become a huge threat in the future. Lin Xingchen's expression turned serious, a rare sight. With a flick of his sword, he slashed horizontally at Lin Chen. In that instant, the sky darkened, and a ray of starlight illuminated Lin Chen. Bang! With a flash of golden radiance, heaven and earth were overturned, and the sword radiance was completely shattered. What? Lin Xingchen's eyes narrowed. His attack was powerful enough to kill any peak 5th heaven true saint. How could he break it so easily? Lin Xingchen's 5-colored sword chi surged once again. The moment the sword light exploded, Lin Chen slowly stepped out. All the sages who were paying attention to the battle were stunned. His entire body was shrouded in golden radiance, and streaks of golden light danced wildly in the air like a dragon's shadow. His eyes were like the stars in the forest, shining brilliantly. With a peerless beauty by his side, golden radiance shone in all directions. An epic painting unfurled slowly, and it was as if the might of the god of war was unstoppable. It was as if no one in the universe could shake his sharpness. Huff! Lin Chen's eyes narrowed and he exhaled lightly. Huff! Crack! Crack! Bang! Bang! His breath was like a tornado, and the space within a few thousand miles of the central island was destroyed beyond recognition. Countless spatial fragments scattered everywhere. Hiss! The sages felt their scalps go numb. It was just a casual exhale, but it was like an apocalyptic storm that swept across the space, shattering the crystal walls of the space. Just how strong was Lin Chen now? This power is around 1.5 trillion dragon power points, which is also the limit of the god of war's right arm now. Lin Chen was amazed. He had no doubt that he could control the sun, moon, and stars with just a wave of his hand. So we've all underestimated him. That's too scary. I thought that the Holy Dragon was his final trump card. I didn't expect him to still have something up his sleeve. Even if all the monsters here attack him together, they won't be a match for him, let alone him fighting 1 against 3. How can there be such an unreasonable guy in this world? All the monsters felt defeated for the first time. They knew that they weren't inferior to anyone in this world, but when they saw the 2 monsters, Lin Chen and Lin Xingchen, today, they suddenly felt that they were so far away from them. This distance was a gap of a lifetime. As expected of the man that the goddess has taken a fancy to. He's indeed a genius. In time, he might even rule over the Divine Flame Palace. The old woman from the Divine Flame Palace, who was protecting Bai Ruoyan, was elated. Is it so troublesome? It's a little tricky, but if this kid really has the Scarlet God's damask, then it's all worth it. Lin Xingchen's 5-colored sword aura split into a white sword projection and merged into his sword. His face became even paler. I let you escape last time. This time, I won't let you off so easily. Lin Chen's body moved, and he activated his trillion dragon power to perform a spatial jump. White Emperor Sword Aura, Heaven Worshipping Slash. Lin Xingqian's sword slashed horizontally, and the white sword aura split the entire central island. I'll reward you with a punch. Lin Chen raised his hand and threw a punch toward the sky. The golden divine glow of the god of war's vambrace suddenly intensified, and it struck the place where the sword aura was the brightest. Boom! Bam! The realm tower trembled, and both sides retreated rapidly. Lin Chen and Lin Xingqian vomited blood at the same time. All the saints felt as if the world had been turned upside down, and the 5 planes that had been split spun several times at high speed. They felt dizzy, and when they saw clearly, their mouths were slightly agape, as if they had seen a ghost. In the space of the central island, there was a huge hole that led to the outside world? The realm tower was actually broken through? Oh my God! Even a 6th heaven true saint might not be able to break through the space outside the realm tower. Are these two still human? All the old experts sucked in a breath of cold air. It was rumored that a 6th heaven true saint had once formed a grudge with the realm tower. He had personally launched a surprise attack on the realm tower, but he had failed to break through the space barrier. Now, it was actually broken by 2 young juniors? At this time, a pure white flame descended from the sky, and it turned into numerous fire bundles that instantly bound Lin Xingqian. All the saints were shocked. It was the Divine Flame Palace's goddess, Bai Ruoyan. Little brother Lin Chen. Bai Ruoyan had used all her strength. When she shouted, Lin Chen leaped into the air, and his body moved like the stars in the sky. His trillion draconic powers crushed open a crack in space. Lin Chen appeared in front of Lin Xingqian in an instant, and his divine battle armor smashed down on Lin Xingqian's head like a giant hammer. Bam! Lin Xingqian broke free from the shackles and pointed his sword at the sky, striking out with it. Clang! Boom! The mountains collapsed, and the sun and moon lost their color. This time, Lin Xingqian made the first move. With a punch, he sent his opponent flying out of the realm pagoda. Walala! Lin Xingqian was injured, and he dropped a large number of attribute light balls. Lin Chen summoned the holy dragon and stored them away. Lin Chen couldn't be bothered to look at what he had obtained. Stepping on a golden light, he charged out of the realm tower. Bai Ruoyan followed closely behind, and the 3 of them rushed out of the realm tower. Lin Chen didn't have the time to help others break through Lin Xingqian's shackles. He was using the divine battle armor, and the power he could use was limited. He had to defeat or kill Lin Xingqian before the set's essence ran out. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out, and Lin Chen and Lin Xingqian started fighting again outside the realm tower. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.